Chapter 1546. Qi Beifei looked like a relatively ordinary young man. He was a little handsome, but there was always a hint of evil in his eyes. This was something Long Yu had discovered when he was gathering outside the eroding moon ancient region. Now, when Qi Beifei suddenly opened his eyes, not only did they carry an evil aura, they also carried a special kind of expression. Long Yu had never seen this kind of expression before, causing him to be on guard in his heart. Fortunately, the other party was unable to find Long Yu's location. This was because Long Yu was in a state of nothingness. Unless he was a demigod, it was really impossible to find him unless he used some special methods. However, Qi Beifei did not just sit and wait for death. He calmly raised his hand, and the entire enclosed small spherical space suddenly turned upside down. He had activated a part of the formations that he had set up in the space in advance. Just this part alone was enough to fill the entire space with all kinds of surging power. The entire space was filled with explosive power. Even a peak 7th stage great ruler would definitely not be able to survive such an explosive attack. Only in the center of the small spherical space, which was the small area around Qi Beifei's body, was it calm and peaceful. There were no surging powers at all. Qi Beifei was very confident that no opponent would be able to remain unmoved under such an attack. Even if the opponent's defense was extremely strong, they would still reveal flaws. At the very least, they would definitely expose their location when they blocked the power. But very soon, Qi Beifei frowned. This was because he discovered that there seemed to be no opponent in this space. Such a violent wave of power actually did not disturb anything. However, he did not frown for too long. Many foreign races had all kinds of strange methods, and it was not like Qi Beifei had never encountered a situation like this before. However, he was very curious. What kind of form did his opponent exist in this time? If it was a physical form, then it would definitely be knocked out by the wave of power that covered the entire space. If it was a spiritual soul like the soul race, then it should also be affected by the spiritual impact hidden within. In that case, the opponent was neither a physical form nor a spiritual form? This made Qi Beifei feel a little troubled. He was constantly on guard against attacks from all directions, but Long Yu maintained a state of nothingness, bathing in the violent energy around him. This berserk power wasn't targeting his location. Instead, it was attacking indiscriminately. Hence, the pressure on the space Long Yu was in wasn't too great. In fact, there wasn't even the slightest possibility of it collapsing. Previously, only the demigods and the six-winged silver wings were able to see through his illusion. It was impossible for Qi Beifei to know what he was doing, and it was impossible for him to see where he was. Long Yu leisurely maintained his incorporeal state and was not in a hurry to appear. If Long Yu were to appear or launch any sort of attack, he would reveal an opening. Long Yu was not stupid enough to face Qi Beifei head-on. Moreover, the other party had set up so many invisible magic arrays in this space. Long Yu could imagine that if he wanted to face Qi Beifei head-on, the other party could easily activate a few magic arrays and kill him. Therefore, Long Yu maintained his state of nothingness. In any case, it didn't cost him much energy to maintain the state of nothingness. According to his current situation, he could completely maintain the state of nothingness for as long as 7 days. No matter what, he had to survive these 7 days first. Long Yu knew the importance of a protracted battle. In his previous life, he was an assassin. For an assassin, waiting for a prey to appear often required extreme patience. Otherwise, it was extremely easy to alert the enemy, and the entire assassination operation might even directly fail. Just like that, Long Yu waited quietly in the state of nothingness. But Qi Beifei was different. Previously, he had set up exactly 100 different magic arrays in this small star space. These magic arrays used the 8 attributes of the divine characters. All in all, they were very diverse and very practical. No matter what kind of opponent he faced, there would always be a magic array that could be of great use. He thought that he was already foolproof. However, he didn't expect that after his opponent entered this space, he wouldn't even be able to find his opponent. In the first wave of magic arrays, he directly activated 20 of them. However, when the power of these magic arrays completely erupted, the space was a complete mess. It was incomparably chaotic, but the opponent he wanted to see was not there. The entire small spherical space was still sealed, which meant that there were still 2 creatures in this space. Qi Beifei didn't dare to move at all. His mind fell into an even more tense state. He didn't try to activate the remaining magic arrays. Instead, he continuously used various martial techniques. There were martial techniques that directly attacked the physical body, and there were also martial techniques that attacked the mind and soul. He used all kinds of divine abilities, all in order to find traces of his opponent. However, Long Yu didn't care about his opponent's actions at all. Even when Qi Beifei directly used martial techniques in the void where he was, Long Yu was indifferent. After all, he couldn't deal with him at all. With his cultivation at the peak of the 7th stage Great Sovereign Realm, it would still take a long time to destroy the void space. Moreover, his opponent didn't know where Long Yu was, so it was impossible for him to continuously attack in his direction. Therefore, Long Yu wasn't worried that his opponent would find him at all. However, as long as Long Yu appeared once, the situation would be different. The opponent would be able to deduce Long Yu's position through the power of deduction. Even if Long Yu transformed into nothingness once more, the opponent would still be able to know where he was. From there, the opponent would be able to directly attack the nothingness. In that case, the opponent would be able to quickly shatter the nothingness, forcing Long Yu to have no choice but to jump out from the nothingness. Therefore, Long Yu was determined not to appear. At least, before his opponent revealed a flaw, Long Yu absolutely wouldn't take the initiative to appear. In any case, Long Yu was in a very leisurely state right now. He was conserving his energy. However, Qi Beifei was different. After performing a few sets of martial arts in the small spherical space, he found that there was no way to find his opponent's traces. This made his brows furrow again, and it was even more serious than before. What should I do now? His opponent was in the dark, and could launch a sneak attack at any time. Moreover, it was very likely that he was in a very good state. Qi Beifei had just performed a few sets of martial arts in the air, and his body's strength had been consumed a bit. However, this wasn't the most important thing. The most important thing was that Qi Beifei had to maintain a state of tension. This was the most critical thing. It was different from when he was waiting for Long Yu. When Qi Beifei was waiting for Long Yu, although he didn't know when his opponent would come, as long as his opponent came, the small spherical space would be completely sealed, and the other passage through the white light screen would be directly closed. This would attract his attention, and he wouldn't be attacked by his opponent. Moreover, Qi Beifei was very confident at that time. One had to know that he had set up hundreds of arrays in this small spherical space in advance. As long as his opponent came, he would be able to smash his opponent to pieces in minutes. However, the situation had become completely different now. This was because Qi Beifei knew that his opponent had come. However, he couldn't find his opponent. Moreover, the arrays he had set up seemed to be of no use at all. This made Qi Beifei's mind start to become tense, and he was no longer as confident as when he was waiting for his opponent. Even a cultivator at the peak level would become mentally exhausted if he maintained such a state of mind for too long. There was no doubt that Long Yu was using some kind of psychological tactic, and this kind of psychological tactic was very useful even for a cultivator at the peak level like Qi Beifei. He had seen most of Qi Beifei's means. His opponent had already been exposed in front of Long Yu. However, Qi Beifei knew nothing about Long Yu. The only thing Qi Beifei knew was that a member of the alien race who had participated in the lunar erosion ancient domain had come to this space where he was, and its goal was to kill him. However, He couldn't find his opponent at all under such circumstances. It was needless to say what kind of change Qi Beifei's mentality would have. Although Qi Beifei had experienced a lot, causing his mentality to be very good at the beginning, as time passed, it was hard to say what would happen. In any case, Long Yu planned to delay for 7 days first. When there were still cultivators fighting in the small spherical space, this space shouldn't collapse. Therefore, Long Yu had enough time to torture Qi Beifei and gradually make his opponent's mentality collapse. A few hours was simply not enough for Qi Beifei. A few hours without rest was nothing to a peak 7th stage sovereign cultivator. After 12 hours, which was half a day, Qi Beifei was still floating in the center of the entire space with his eyes closed. However, his mentality was constantly in a state of tension, and it was impossible for him to relax for even a moment. He looked very cool and elegant, but Long Yu knew that this guy was extremely nervous. After all, his opponent could launch a fatal attack at any time. Most importantly, Qi Beifei still didn't know what race his opponent came from. In fact, he didn't even know what race his opponent was from. This was the most terrible thing, and it made him more and more nervous. Moreover, Long Yu's strategy of a protracted war had only just begun. 12 hours, what was the big deal? One had to admit that Long Yu's method was very despicable, but who asked Qi Beifei to be unable to find Long Yu who could transform into nothingness? After Long Yu's Book of Shadows had fused with the shadow essence, the amount of energy he needed to transform into nothingness had greatly decreased. In addition, he had recently advanced a lot in the martial Tao, and the total amount of energy in his body had increased a lot. After 7 days of psychological tug-of-war, everything was in Long Yu's hands. Chapter 1547. Long Yu remained calm and unperturbed. Qi Beifei also looked calm and unperturbed, but he was getting more and more nervous. As time passed, Qi Beifei felt that the time for the other party to attack was getting closer and closer. However, the other party still hadn't attacked, which made him a little flustered. He really wanted to deduce the other party's location right now. Unfortunately, his deduction ability couldn't give him any clues. This was because Long Yu didn't reveal any of his aura in this small spherical space at all. Just like that, he maintained his illusory state and slowly tempered Qi Beifei's temper. Even with Qi Beifei's excellent mental fortitude, he couldn't endure such torment. 1 day passed, and Qi Beifei was able to endure it. 2 days passed, and he was still able to endure it. However, when the 3rd day arrived, Qi Beifei's mental state was clearly a little unbalanced. He couldn't stand the feeling of having a sharp blade on his back at all times. He began to speak, and at the same time, he released his divine will towards the surroundings, as if he wanted to communicate with the life forms hiding in this space. Unfortunately, Long Yu naturally would not reply to his words, nor would he move in the slightest. He still maintained his illusory state lazily. No matter what Qi Beifei did, he remained indifferent. On the 4th day, Qi Beifei once again activated 20 spirit arrays, but it was still to no avail. These spirit arrays, whether they were in physical or spiritual form, had no effect on Long Yu in his illusory state. It was even more impossible for them to make Long Yu give himself away. He just quietly stood there in the illusory state, watching Qi Beifei play around with his martial art. With a connate mystique like the Book of Shadows, Long Yu's strength had indeed increased a lot. Otherwise, if he faced Qi Beifei like this, Long Yu wouldn't know how he could win. Now, however, victory was in his hands. Qi Beifei's mental state was getting more and more explosive. Of course, it was also possible that he was pretending. However, Long Yu believed that in another 2 days, even if Qi Beifei didn't pretend, he would still be like this. No one could endure such psychological torture for such a long time. Even Qi Beifei couldn't do it, because if a person was nervous for too long, his heart would be very, very tired. This was a kind of psychological torture. Especially when Qi Beifei became more and more aware that his methods had no effect on the hidden existence, he became even more afraid. A fear of the unknown caused his psychological defenses to gradually collapse. Long Yu found the feeling of torturing his prey in his previous life. Although he didn't mean to torture the other party, this was the only way he could kill the other party with the least cost. The seventh day. By the seventh day, Long Yu's Book of Shadows had already reached its limit. Even if he wanted to launch a sneak attack, he would have to consume a recovery medicinal pill first. However, at the beginning of the seventh day, Qi Beifei had a mental breakdown. He chose to quit. At this moment, a faint white light flickered above Qi Beifei's head, indicating that he would be sent out of the eroding moon ancient domain in 10 breaths' time. These 10 breaths' time were the last time he would endure the torture. At this time, Qi Beifei thought that if the other party wanted to make a move, he would definitely do it now, right? Because if he didn't make a move now, he would be sent out of the eroding moon ancient domain, and the other party wouldn't be able to obtain the reward for passing this stage. However, Long Yu didn't act rashly. He carefully observed Qi Beifei's every move, and noticed that his eyes were already bloodshot. However, this was the moment when he was the most focused he had ever been in his life. It was fine if Long Yu didn't make a move, but once he did, he would definitely kill him. Therefore, he was waiting for the other party to start relaxing. Logically speaking, it was impossible for Qi Beifei to relax in these last 10 breaths' time. However, there would still be a time when he could relax, and that was the last 2 breaths' time. For Qi Beifei, it was the last 2 breaths' time, but for Long Yu, it was the last 4 breaths' time. If nothing unexpected happened, it should be enough to kill Qi Beifei in one blow. Long Yu was prepared to use his full strength. Moreover, he had already started to condense the devil dust clone. In the first 5 breaths' time, Qi Beifei held his breath, constantly paying attention to his surroundings, but he didn't take any action. After that, he immediately started to circulate the energy in his body, creating layer after layer of defensive barriers around his body. These defensive barriers were varied, and they contained the power of the 8 elemental divine runes. It could be seen that Qi Beifei was an all-rounder, and his compatibility with the 8 elemental divine runes was very high. Perhaps it was because of this that he was able to make it to this stage in the eroding moon ancient domain. However, to Long Yu, these defensive barriers were nothing. Even if his attacks couldn't penetrate these barriers, it didn't mean that he couldn't kill the other party. It would just be slightly more difficult. In the last 3 breaths' time, Long Yu still hadn't launched an attack, and Qi Beifei's tensed body finally relaxed a little. He was sure that even the strongest peak 7th stage Sovereign Realm expert wouldn't be able to kill him in 3 breaths of time if he were to launch an attack now. Qi Beifei was still confident about this. Just as he was about to relax, Long Yu finally made his move. 3 devil dust clones appeared from all directions, and together with Long Yu's main body, they appeared in 4 directions around Qi Beifei. This scene shocked Qi Beifei. He really didn't expect that his hidden opponent would be of the same race as him. Moreover, it was Long Zai-Tian's son. Although he had advanced from the 3rd stage Sovereign Realm to the 5th stage Sovereign Realm, but, what a joke. Do you think you can kill me? Qi Beifei regret it. If I knew it was you, I wouldn't have chosen to withdraw. I can't accept losing to you. Qi Beifei glared angrily. In his opinion, a person like Long Yu shouldn't have appeared even if he was scared off at this stage. Now that he had appeared, could it be that he wanted to kill him? That was simply a dream. In 3 breaths' time, there were 8 layers of defensive barriers around him. 9 underworld sphere. One of the devil dust clones immediately used the 8th mystic ability, 9 underworld sphere. Then, a pitch-black sphere appeared in the small spherical space. Countless pitch-black light beams revolved around Qi Beifei, completely surrounding him. The time around Qi Beifei immediately slowed down by half. In other words, There were only 6 breaths time left before he was teleported out. Qi Beifei didn't know about this. Just like the silver 6-winged beast, the closer he got to the 3 breaths time, the more relaxed he became. Long Yu's final attack would also be launched in the last breath's time. Now, he just had to make his opponent feel pressured. One of the Devil Dust clones used the 9 Underworld Sphere, another used the Eternal Grade Hell-Shaking Divine Rune to activate the Boundless Grasp, wanting to directly attack the opponent's body, and the final Devil Dust clone used the 9 Underworld Hand to control the opponent. Unfortunately, his opponent's internal defense was also very strong. Once the Boundless Grasp was activated, even the Eternal Rank Hell-Shaking Divine Runes had no way of destroying his opponent's Dantian. Instead, the power of the Eternal Rank Hell-Shaking Divine Runes was absorbed by his opponent. This was beyond Long Yu's expectations. Sure enough, Qi Beifei wasn't someone to be trifled with. He actually had such a mysterious method. The power that attacked his opponent's body was absorbed by him. After absorbing the Hell-Shaking Divine Runes, Qi Beifei didn't store them. Instead, he threw them out, condensing the Hell-Shaking Divine Runes into a barrier that properly protected him. 9 layers of defensive barriers. Qi Beifei sneered. We're both humans. You still don't know how powerful I am. You're not qualified to kill me. I really regret choosing to withdraw. Long Yu didn't make any response. He didn't have any deep feelings about killing his fellow humans in the eroding moon ancient domain. If it were any other human, Long Yu might not have appeared and would have let them withdraw safely. However, his opponent was Qi Beifei. Long Yu had promised Elder Heaven Fire that he would kill this person, so he absolutely had to kill him. Therefore, he activated the imprint of True Spirit and prepared to record the following scene. According to Qi Beifei's calculations, he would be sent out of the eroding moon ancient domain in 1 breath of time. However, in reality there were still 4 breaths of time left. Because of the existence of the 9 Underworld Sphere, the surrounding time had slowed down by half. This was something that Qi Beifei didn't know. It was also the biggest factor that ultimately led to his death. The Hand of 9 Underworld activated by Long Yu's 3rd Devil Dust clone was absorbed by his opponent and blocked by the Hell-Shaking Divine Rune Barrier. Furthermore, it didn't cause any damage. After all, the Hand of 9 Underworld was completely a control technique. It could be said that it had no offensive power. Meanwhile, Long Yu took out the small golden sword. He quickly condensed 10% of the Divine Source item's power and shot it towards Qi Beifei. This was the last breath of time in Qi Beifei's eyes. He watched helplessly as the golden sword's power condensed into a beam of golden sword light and shot toward him. In the time it took to take a breath, it shattered the 2 outermost layers of his defense. A Divine Source item. What a pity! Qi Beifei looked greedily at the Divine Source item in Long Yu's hands. It was obvious that although he had come all the way here, he hadn't obtained many rewards, let alone something as good as a Divine Source item. He had barely made it to the 5th region in the advancement region. In the 5th region, he had relied on various methods to defeat his opponent. However, he hadn't been able to kill many of them, so he hadn't obtained any rewards. The only reward he had obtained was a Divine Spirit martial skill. Unfortunately, he couldn't cultivate it in a short period of time. The jealousy in Qi Beifei's eyes gradually revealed his relief. Although he was a little unwilling, he still managed to return safely from this trip to the eroding moon ancient domain. However, he was soon stunned. Chapter 1548. Qi Beifei was stunned. This was because he had clearly counted down to 10 breaths of time. Now that the countdown was over, he was still in this small spherical space and had not been teleported out. This was not right. Just as he was about to relax and be stunned, Long Yu's attack finally began. 8 Extremities Bloodline activate. Long Yu did not hold back at all. He had to ensure that this attack could kill Qi Beifei completely. He could not let Chi Beifei be teleported out of the eroding moon ancient domain. After the 8 extremities bloodline was activated, Long Yu's entire body was covered in a blood-red color, making him look extremely bloody. At the same time, Long Yu could already exert 80% of the power of the small golden sword in his hand. But this was not enough. Condense spirit light. Long Yu used 80% of the small golden sword's power and activated the God Spirit skill. Condense spirit light completely condensed the 80% of power into a sharp beam of light. This beam of sharp light directly exploded with 3 times its original power. As it shot towards Chi Beifei, its power continued to increase, and very soon, it reached 5 times its original power. This was the terrifying part of the God Spirit skill. When Long Yu's 8 extremities bloodline and condensed spirit light overlapped, it actually erupted with 4 times the original power of the small golden sword. It should be noted that with Long Yu's current martial arts cultivation base, he could only exert 10% of its power. Just the 8 extremities bloodline and condensed spirit light alone allowed Long Yu to launch an attack that was 40 times stronger than usual. This was a terrifying number. Because of this was a number that Chi Beifei could not imagine at all. Earlier, when Long Yu activated the small golden sword to launch an attack, it could clearly only break through 2 of his defensive barriers. But now, this golden beam of light directly broke through the remaining 7 defensive barriers and directly penetrated his body. His dantian was destroyed. Chi Beifei was stunned. He did not even have time to react before his dantian was destroyed. Boundless Grasp. Long Yu immediately used the Boundless Grasp. Killing intent flashed in his eyes as he activated the Eternal Hell Shocking Divine Rune. A terrifying power suddenly erupted from his opponent's body. With his dantian destroyed, Chi Beifei's strange ability to absorb power naturally could not be used again. This time, his entire body was blown to pieces, and the white light above his head finally dissipated. The eroding moon ancient domain naturally would not send Chi Beifei out after detecting his death. Long Yu killed Chi Beifei in one move. The most important factor was still the psychological factor. Moreover, the explosive power of his final attack was simply too shocking. It wasn't something an ordinary cultivator could do. One had to know that he was only a 5th stage great ruler. Originally, Chi Beifei had already looked down on him. Coupled with the fact that his countdown was up, he thought that he was about to be teleported out. However, he didn't know that Long Yu's ball of 9 underworlds had delayed him for 3 breaths of time. To be honest, Chi Beifei was an elite of the human race, so killing him and weakening the strength of the human race made Long Yu feel a little guilty. To be honest, Chi Beifei was an elite of the human race, so killing him and weakening the strength of the human race made Long Yu feel a little guilty. However, guilt did not affect his actions. After all, he had been an assassin in his past life. He was already used to killing people. Furthermore, Chi Beifei was someone who deserved to be killed. As for the weakening of the human race after Chi Beifei's death, Long Yu's rise alone was enough to make up for it, not to mention that he had the entire Void Galaxy behind him. After killing Chi Beifei, Long Yu's mind finally relaxed. Although he had been relaxed for the past few days, he was still making all sorts of calculations. He was calculating how he could kill Chi Beifei with 100% certainty. Now, it seemed that his previous calculations were correct. However, the consequence was that Long Yu had to absorb another Heaven Crystal Grade 1st grade creation item, the Void Shell. After activating his 8 extreme bloodline, his small world had suffered great damage, so he needed a creation item to make up for it. If they were in the outside world, Long Yu would not have dared to fully activate his 8 extreme bloodline, because it would have been too wasteful. However, in that situation, if he had relaxed even a little, his opponent might have escaped. This was a situation that Long Yu did not want to see. Therefore, even if he had to consume a 1st grade Heavenly Crystal creation item, he still unleashed his strongest power. This was all because the base power of the small divine source-grade golden sword was strong enough. Otherwise, even if it was 40 times stronger, he might not have been able to kill Chi Beifei successfully. Long Yu felt that when the golden light broke through the defense barriers and penetrated Chi Beifei's body, there was a strange power that wanted to absorb the golden light. However, because the golden light was too strong, Chi Beifei's dantian was destroyed before he could absorb it. That strange absorption ability was undoubtedly the nemesis of Long Yu's boundless grasp. If Long Yu had not cultivated gathering aura to the greater mastery, it was very likely that his opponent would have escaped. In that case, it would be troublesome, because Chi Beifei was an important figure in the army on the battlefield. After he left, there was no telling how he would deal with Long Yu and the people around him. Although Long Yu was a member of the Demigod College and a hero who had helped kill a demigod of an alien race, it would be too easy for Chi Beifei to harm Long Yu, unless Long Yu hid in the Demigod College forever. One day later, Long Yu absorbed an entire shell of the void, and the power of creation in it was all used to repair Long Yu's small world. Recently, Long Yu's small world had been constantly damaged. Even the existences in his small world had sensed something, especially the survivors of the bone race. They felt that the entire small world was shaking, because one of the damage points was near the space where they lived. Fortunately, Long Yu repaired the space crack in that place very soon. Otherwise, the space crack would keep expanding, and the entire territory of the survivors of the bone race might have been swallowed in less than a month. Of course, Long Yu wouldn't let that happen. Fortunately, he had obtained enough heavenly crystal-level creation items in the eroding moon ancient domain. He still had 3 level 1 heavenly crystal-level creation items like the Shell of the Void, which meant that he still had 3 chances to perform the Octagon bloodline. If I can't get more creation items, it seems that I have to use them sparingly. However, Long Yu shook his head. Now that he had reached this step in the eroding moon ancient domain, it was impossible to use them sparingly, because every opponent he faced was extremely powerful. If he didn't use the Octagon bloodline, it would be very difficult to kill them. But if he could only scare them away, Long Yu wouldn't be satisfied. Therefore, the key was still to see what he could obtain next. That was the factor that could affect how far Long Yujing could go. After killing Chi Beifei, Long Yu continued forward. Halfway through the white veil of light, he indeed saw another purple crystal box. The next opponents he would meet were basically all in the top 100. He didn't know how Frost, Imperial Wind, and Consort Yu were doing, and Long Zai Tian. Long Yu shook his head and didn't think too much about it. He opened the amethyst box and discovered that the item inside was indeed extraordinary. It was actually a supreme creation item. The creation power contained within a transcendent-grade creation item was 20 to 30 times that of a first-grade heaven crystal rank creation item. Long Yu had seen it on the wheel before, but it was a pity that he didn't get it. Either that or he didn't have enough points and couldn't choose. This was a Frost Sonic Shell. The Frost Sonic Shell was a relatively common creation item. However, to reach the supreme level was something Long Yu had never seen before. This meant that this Frost Sonic Shell had lived for countless years and absorbed a lot of creation power from the world. Any object of creation was formed from some still objects in the world that had absorbed the power of creation in the universe. In a place where the power of creation was thick, the longer the still objects could absorb it, and the higher the level of creation they could become. The difference between the human race and the demon race was that there weren't enough places in their territory to nurture creation items. Between the human race and the demon race, there were only 4 places that could nurture creation items. These 4 areas were guarded by the human race's battlefield army, the demon race's battlefield army, the human race's defense army, and the demon race's alliance. The 2 races' battlefield armies each occupied an area where creation items were nurtured. This was the only way to ensure that there would be talented people in the battlefield army. Some geniuses could obtain enough cultivation resources to grow. In comparison, the human race's territory and the demon race's territory had more than 1,000 times more people than the battlefield army. However, they could only occupy an area where creation items were nurtured. In the human race's and demon race's territory, it was basically impossible for a supreme creation item to appear. Even a level 3 heavenly crystal level creation item was extremely precious. It could be sold for 5 million battlefield army merit. This was no longer something that an ordinary person could afford. Not to mention the level 1 heavenly crystal level creation item and the supreme creation item, the machine race, the six-winged race, and the sword race. These 3 races were the 3 strongest races in the Langya galaxy. It was precisely because there were more than 10 areas where creation items were nurtured in the territories of these 3 races. The more creation items were produced, the more cultivation resources there would be. This would allow the younger generation of their race to grow faster and strengthen the overall strength of the entire race. This made Long Yu realize that if the forces in the Void Galaxy wanted to develop, they would also need an area where creation items were nurtured. Otherwise, it wouldn't be enough for their own people if they kept exchanging from the outside world. After all, there were already a lot of cultivators in the Void Galaxy. Chapter 1549. Long Yu continued to move forward. The opponents he would encounter next would be those in the top 100. Even if it was due to luck, those who could reach this stage were all the most talented geniuses of their respective races. Long Yu would not belittle himself. Among the human race, he was indeed one of the most talented people. However, he had yet to reach the peak of the martial Tao. He was still some distance away from those peak 7th stage sovereign expert. I wonder who my next opponent will be, Long Yu thought in his heart. He directly turned into nothingness and moved toward the passage formed by the white light curtain. Soon, he left this passage and arrived at the next small spherical space. Then, he discovered that this time, he was one step ahead of his opponent. After he entered the small spherical space, the passage formed by the white light curtain closed. However, in this small spherical space, there was another passage that was not closed. It should be the passage that another opponent came through, right? However, the opening of the passage was a little strange. It was facing upwards and not parallel to the passage that Long Yu came through. This made Long Yu frown slightly. He did not act rashly because it was very likely that his opponent in this round was hiding at the entrance of the passage and waiting for him. However, he maintained the state of turning into nothingness and began to carefully approach the passage. Because the location of this passage was different from before, he still had to give it a try. Perhaps this passage was a relatively special existence. In any case, in the state of turning into nothingness, it was the same whether he moved or not. If the opponent could not discover him, no matter what, they would not be able to discover him. If the opponent could see through his method of turning into nothingness like the silver six-winged, it would be useless for him to stay in the same place. Very quickly, Long Yu approached the passageway above his head. Then, he discovered that he could actually enter this passage. In the previous small spherical space, other than the passage forward, cultivators could not go back, nor could they enter the passage that other cultivators came through. But now, Long Yu entered the passage above his head. This passage clearly had a special function, and it was not a place that other cultivators would come through. There was only one passageway in the entire small spherical space. Long Yu pondered for a moment before flying up along the passageway. In fact, there was no gravity in the eroding moon ancient domain, so it was impossible to differentiate up, down, left, and right. Now that Long Yu was flying upwards, it felt like he was following a passage. The passage was very long. But Long Yu wasn't slow either. As he walked along the passage, he found that the passage gradually widened. In front of him, there seemed to be a space where several passages intersected. It was similar to the small spherical area from before. This made Long Yu's heart skip a beat. Could it be that the following levels were all multiplayer? This was a good sign for Long Yu. Of course, the prerequisite was that no one would be able to discover Long Yu's existence during the chaotic battle. After passing through the six-winged silver layer, there would still be some things that would be able to discover Long Yu's illusory state. Therefore, Long Yu did not dare to be sure that his transformation into nothingness would definitely allow him to survive, especially in such a chaotic environment. No matter who it was, they would want to pick the weaker fellows and kill them first. And among the cultivators from the various races who could make it this far, it was clear that Long Yu was the weakest. It was basically impossible for a fifth-stage sovereign to make it here. Long Yu was definitely an exception. Therefore, if others discovered Long Yu, it was very likely that they would treat Long Yu as their first target. This was somewhat tragic. But right now, he wasn't sure if the space ahead was a chaotic battle stage. In short, he had to go over first. Long Yu maintained his illusory state and continuously advanced. Soon, he arrived near the passage's exit. He discovered that the medium-sized spherical space in front of him was actually connected to another 11 passageways. Including the one that Long Yu came out of, there were a total of 12 passageways. At this moment, there were already some foreign races fighting in this medium-sized spherical space. Among them, there were two that Long Yu had seen before. One of them was from the demonic flower race. This race was adept at using mental attacks and soul power. Previously in the advancement area, Long Yu had used the world-cleansing soul mirror to reflect and kill 4 foreign races. One of them was a cultivator from the demonic flower race. The other one was actually the golden six-winged one. Long Yu had seen and killed these 2 foreign races before. He had some impression of the other foreign races, but he had never faced any of them before. In the advancement area, he had seen cultivators from most races. Those who could make it here were all the elites of the stronger races. The golden six-winged one was ranked in the top 10 among all the cultivators of the various races. Naturally, its strength was extraordinary. It was very normal for it to be able to make it here. Under the suppression of its superior strength, it could basically pass through all the way. Long Yu did not appear for the time being. He found that there were a total of 12 passageways in the field, but there were only 7 foreign races fighting in the field. In addition to the demonic flower race and the golden six-winged one, there were 5 other foreign races that Long Yu had seen before but had never faced. There were no humans or demons, but some foreign races from the Heavenly Dipper star area and the Wild Sand star area. The demonic flower race was also from the Wild Sand star area. This made Long Yu a little strange. In this area formed by the convergence of 12 passageways, only the golden six-winged one was from the Langyastar area? Those who could come to the eroding moon ancient region were all expert. Logically speaking, the number of experts in the 3-star areas should be about the same. In addition to him hiding here, there were 3 other people who had not appeared in the other 3 passageways. He did not know whether they were hiding in the fighting area, had not come over, or had already admitted defeat and retreated after being killed. In short, Long Yu did not dare to go out now because the golden six-winged one was in the field. It should be known that the silver six-winged one had seen through Long Yu's existence. This golden six-winged one was stronger than the silver six-winged one, and it seemed that they were on the same side. There was a great possibility that the golden six-winged one could see through Long Yu's nihility incarnation. Now that he had not come out of that passageway, he was not in danger. He realized that since he couldn't see the situation in the other passageways, the foreign races cultivators in this region definitely couldn't see Long Yu as well. However, Long Yu knew that it was impossible for the eroding moon ancient domain to design such a place for a chaotic battle. At the very least, it was impossible for people to hide in these passageways. This was simply too unfair to the people who were fighting in the chaotic battle zone. Just as Long Yu was thinking about this, a divine thought suddenly appeared in his mind. This divine thought seemed to come from the endless past, but also seemed to come from the bottom of Long Yu's heart. This was a reminder to him. After about the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, he would be transported to the fighting area in front of him. Long Yu's heart trembled. I really have to go in. I only have the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. It seems that I can only use that method. Long Yu had no other choice but to use the devil dust doppelgangers. This was because the other party could not distinguish between Long Yu's real body and the devil dust doppelgangers. Therefore, as long as he condensed enough devil dust doppelgangers, the possibility of Long Yu's real body being discovered would be greatly reduced. As for these devil dust doppelgangers, Long Yu decided to use their nihility incarnations to enter the fighting area. Long Yu was very clear that this was the most serious challenge he had encountered since he entered the eroding moon ancient region. It was very likely that he would have to choose to leave the eroding moon ancient region not long after he entered. Under such a situation, if Long Yu were to use the 9 underworld prison tablet, he would definitely be able to annihilate all the people in the field. However, in the eroding moon ancient region, Long Yu did not dare to use the 9 underworld prison tablet. After all, it was related to the gods, just like the eroding moon ancient region. Regarding the gods, Long Yu's understanding was still too little. I wonder how many people will be able to make it out of this fighting area alive. Or perhaps, how many people will be able to survive until there is only one person left. Long Yu thought to himself. At the same time, he continuously condensed the devil dust doppelgangers in the small world. The only thing he could rely on now was the devil dust doppelgangers. If there was really a life-threatening situation, he could only choose to retreat and resist for 10 breaths of time. If he could not even resist for 10 breaths of time, then the 9 underworld prison tablet would be his last option. Although he felt that using the 9 underworld prison tablet here would not be good, if his life was in danger, Long Yu could not care so much. After about the time it took for a jaw stick to burn, Long Yu was finally enveloped by a white light. Immediately after, he was transported to the fighting area outside the passageway. At this time, there were 7 foreign races in the field. They were in an extremely tense state. 3 and 4 foreign races were fighting each other, dividing the medium-sized spherical area into 2 battlefields. On the side of 3 of the foreign races, the golden 6-winged one was actually suppressing the other 2 strange-looking foreign races with its own strength. It seemed to be fighting 1 against 2. The place where Long Yu appeared was near the golden 6-winged one. The good news was that one of the golden 6-winged opponents seemed to be on the verge of death. There was a white light shining on its head. Under the fierce attack of the golden 6-winged, the foreign race cultivator that looked like a giant salamander chose to retreat. After 10 breaths of time, it would be sent out. Long Yu did not know what reward he would receive for killing an opponent here. But since the opponent had appeared in front of him, he would be letting himself down if he did not kill it. If he snatched the person that the golden 6-winged wanted to kill, it was very likely that the golden 6-winged would come after him. But even if Long Yu did not snatch this person's head, would the golden 6-winged not attack him? The answer was no. Chapter 1550. For Long Yu, this was a good opportunity. No matter what, he had to take a head first. As soon as he was teleported to the battlefield, he released the 10 devil dust clones that he had just condensed and scattered them across the entire medium-sized spherical area as bait. Although these devil dust clones also maintained a state of nothingness, Long Yu was sure that in such a chaotic area, there must be someone who could see through his devil dust clones and his main body's state of nothingness. However, even if they could see through it, it was useless because there were a total of 11 Long Yu's main body and clones. If there was no accident, they would not be able to tell which one was which. This was because the devil dust heart could condense and reshape Long Yu's body. The clones condensed through this secret martial arts technique were exactly the same as Long Yu's main body. Even their spirit and soul had the same aura as Long Yu's. As soon as he teleported in, he appeared next to the salamander cultivator who had already chosen to retreat. Gather the spiritual light and kill. Eternal Hell shocking divine runes instantly appeared on Long Yu's body and condensed into a spiritual light beam. It swept towards the salamander cultivator and instantly landed on its body. Originally, the golden six-winged was chasing this guy, so this guy focused all his energy on the golden six-winged. Long Yu suddenly appeared beside it, so it could not react at all. It was directly hit by the spiritual light that erupted with 3 times the power. Its whole body was pierced, and light blue blood suddenly splashed out. However, it did not die just like that. Immediately, a layer of light blue defensive barrier appeared beside it, and its figure continued to retreat. When the golden six-winged saw that someone was trying to steal its kill, it was naturally infuriated. Although it saw that Long Yu was only at the 5th phase Great Ruler level, it didn't underestimate him. It didn't think of killing Long Yu first. Instead, it continued to attack the foreign race cultivator that looked like a salamander. There were only 5 breaths left. Long Yu narrowed his eyes and suddenly changed his plan. On this battlefield, the golden six-winged was clearly the strongest. How could he join forces with it to deal with other foreign race cultivators? In that case, he would definitely die in the end. So, Long Yu directly activated the innate divine ability of the Ball of Hades. Boundless pitch-black rays of light appeared, and they even slowed down the flow of time around the salamander cultivator by half. Long Yu turned around to face the 6 golden wings, activating the eternal rank hell-shaking divine runes and continuing to gather spirit light to attack the golden wings. At the same time, the other alien race cultivator behind the golden six-winged also attacked the golden six-winged. Clearly, he wanted to take the opportunity to join forces with Long Yu to deal with the golden six-winged. Before this, Long Yu had never seen such a strange race. It was like a spire, with at least 100 metal tentacles growing out of the spire. This strange race cultivator mainly relied on these metal tentacles to attack. His attacks were extremely sharp, and he used all of the metal origin power. But for the golden six-winged, such sharp attacks could do nothing to it. The metal spire alien's attack was much more powerful than Long Yu's, but it had no effect on the golden six-winged. It could not even break the golden half-moon defensive barrier behind it. Not to mention the attack launched by Long Yu against the golden six-winged. It did not hurt at all, and it even inexplicably turned to ashes in mid-air. After being fooled by Long Yu, the golden six-winged did not continue to chase after the alien race cultivator that looked like a salamander. Instead, it turned around and directly launched an attack on the alien with the metal spire. Countless golden light condensed into a dazzling ball of light that swept towards the alien with the metal spire. Then, when it got close, it suddenly exploded. In these 2 breaths, the golden six-winged forced the metal spire alien to retreat. Then, the 6-winged golden wings launched another attack on the salamander. This time, the attack was even fiercer. Endless metal elemental primordial power surged toward the salamander from all directions. Long Yu also retreated. Obviously, the golden six-winged wanted to take advantage of the last 3 breaths to completely kill the other party and not give it a chance to escape. However, Long Yu was delighted in his heart. No one knew that under the time deceleration effect of the Ball of 9 Serenities, the salamander still had 3 breaths and 5 breaths to retreat. Whether it was the salamander itself or the golden six-winged, both thought that there were only 3 breaths left. Maybe Long Yu could take advantage of this time to take advantage of it. 3 breaths of time passed quickly. The salamander kept retreating, trying to avoid the golden six-winged's attack. But it was impossible. The golden six-winged began to attack it with all its might, blocking all its escape routes. It could only resist and could not escape. Under the bombardment of countless golden lights from the golden six-winged, the salamander was seriously injured. But 3 breaths of time was too short. The golden six-winged was not able to kill it completely. If it was given 1 more breath of time, it would definitely be able to kill this guy. Unfortunately, because of the appearance of Long Yu, the golden six-winged was delayed by half a beat. And it was this half a beat that allowed the salamander to linger on. This caused the outsider in the form of a salamander to heave a sigh of relief. He even felt grateful towards Long Yu. However, the next moment, just as the golden six-winged felt that it was a pity that it could not kill its opponent and the salamander heaved a sigh of relief and was about to be teleported out, Long Yu suddenly launched an attack. He and one of his devil dust doppelgangers attacked almost at the same time. Hell-shaking divine script, boundless grasp. The small golden sword, gathering spiritual light. Although he did not have the 8 extremities bloodline, Long Yu knew that the other party had long been relaxed and had been seriously injured by the golden six-winged. There was no defense or vigilance at all. The small golden sword condensed into a beam of light that tore through the air and instantly blasted the salamander in half. And the boundless grasp activated by the hell-shaking divine script completely sealed the strength in the other party's body. Then, it exploded inside the body and directly destroyed the core of the other party's power. Ball of 9 underworlds. In the end, facing the salamander who had lost all ability to resist, Long Yu used the Ball of 9 underworlds to completely devour the salamander. The Ball of 9 underworlds had a devouring method. Long Yu had not used it for a long time because there were very few opportunities to use this method in the eroding moon ancient domain. But now was the right time. The main reason was that Long Yu had just entered the battle and had already made a battle plan. If it was a one-on-one battle like before, Long Yu would not have been able to use the Ball of 9 underworlds to devour these foreign race experts. Only when the core of all the foreign race experts' power was destroyed would Long Yu dare to take the risk to deal with them like this. And in the past, he did not have many opportunities like this. After devouring the salamander, Long Yu's Ball of 9 underworlds seemed to have become a little stronger. The power of the entanglement and the power of the time deceleration seemed to have increased a little. Although it was not much, he could feel the difference compared to before. After all, the salamander that Long Yu devoured was a peak 7th stage sovereign realm expert. If there were no changes, it would be really difficult for the Ball of 9 underworlds to improve. Long Yu killed the salamander. Then, he felt as if there was a strange power that flowed into his body. It seemed to strengthen one of his innate magic abilities. This innate magic ability was the Dragon Breath of the 9 underworlds, which was a magic ability that he rarely used. Originally, this innate magic ability did not integrate the essence of the divine characters or the essence of the absolute beginning, so its power could not keep up with his current needs. But now that it was strengthened by the mysterious power, its destructive power seemed to be comparable to the degree of integrating the essence of the shadow. This made Long Yu a little surprised. Was this the reward of the free-for-all? Then, he saw that the golden six-winged became extremely angry. After all, it was Long Yu who snatched its head, causing it to lose a chance to improve. There was no doubt that the golden six-winged seemed to know very well what it would get after killing an opponent. Perhaps it had already killed an opponent before Long Yu arrived, so it was so determined to kill the salamander. However, Long Yu suddenly intervened, and Long Yu took the head of the salamander. Although the golden six-winged did not know why the salamander had not been teleported out after 10 breaths, it knew that it was Long Yu's doing. This was because when Long Yu was teleported to this free-for-all and used the Ball of 9 underworlds, it felt an abnormal flow of time. Perhaps it was the effect of this time deceleration that delayed the teleportation of the salamander. This method really shocked the six-winged golden wing. If it was not for the fact that Long Yu's cultivation was only at the 5th stage sovereign realm, it would have regarded Long Yu as the strongest opponent it had encountered in the Eclipse Moon ancient region. Unfortunately, His martial realm was only at the 5th stage sovereign realm, and his basic strength was too low. With a basic strength that was 10 times weaker, the Golden Six-Winged did not need to take Long Yu seriously at all. But now, Long Yu had snatched one of its heads, causing it to lose a chance to improve its innate magic power. The Golden Six-Winged was extremely annoyed. It immediately made Long Yu its next target. Countless metal elemental primordial power gathered around Long Yu, and in an instant, countless golden light balls blasted towards Long Yu. It looked like they were going to explode around Long Yu. In response to the opponent's attack, Long Yu did not panic. He quietly activated the Book of Shadows' magic power and once again transformed into nothingness. Although the Golden Six-Winged could see where he was, even so, Long Yu still chose to transform into nothingness. This was because even if the opponent knew where he was, it would first need to shatter the space of nothingness in order to hurt him. There were still many Long Yu's Devil Dust clones in the field. Long Yu let 3 of them fly towards the Golden Six-Winged in a suicidal manner. When they got close, they chose to self-destruct. The Golden Six-Winged directly attacked the nearest Devil Dust clone and Long Yu's main body. Long Yu let the Devil Dust clone transform into nothingness, and then they flew in 2 different directions. Chapter 1551. When Long Yu began to move like this, the six-winged monster had no way of chasing after Long Yu. This was because it wasn't sure which one was Long Yu's real body. At the same time, the 3 self-destructing Devil Dust clones also caused a lot of trouble for it. Although the power of a cultivator's self-destruction was reduced many times in the eroding Moon Ancient Domain, the destructive power of such a brazen self-destruction was still very extraordinary. After the self-destruction of the Devil Dust clones, the battlefield was enveloped by endless netherworld divine characters. The 6-winged monster's body was completely covered in netherworld divine characters. If it wanted to break out, it would definitely take some time. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Long Yu circled to the back of the metallic spire. Of course, the others didn't know that this was his real body. There were other Devil Dust clones that spread out in different directions. Long Yu's figure reached almost every corner of this medium-sized spherical space, so the other alien race cultivators didn't have any ideas about him. First, none of them knew which one was Long Yu's real body. Second, the battle situation in the medium-sized spherical space was very intense. When they weren't sure if they could gain anything, none of these alien race cultivators were willing to take the risk of revealing their flaws to deal with Long Yu's Devil Dust clones. After all, if they revealed any flaws in the battlefield, it was very likely that they would start to fall into a disadvantageous position and eventually be killed by the other alien race cultivators. This was also why Long Yu accurately judged the mentality of all the alien race cultivators who were fighting in the chaotic battle. That's right, Long Yu's martial realm was indeed very weak. If he were to appear like this, the foreign race cultivators would definitely want to kill him first. In fact, he might even be treated as a moving head. Once they killed him, they would be able to easily improve their innate skills. Unfortunately, Long Yu clearly understood the mentality of these alien race cultivators. Therefore, these Devil Dust clones played a great role in making the alien race cultivators lose interest in him. Even if they wanted to kill Long Yu, now wasn't the time. However, Long Yu also consumed a lot of energy to maintain these Devil Dust doppelgangers. He secretly consumed a recovery pill, and then let each of the Devil Dust doppelgangers consume a recovery pill. If he wasn't pulled into battle, Long Yu could maintain this state for at least the time it took for a stick of incense to burn. But if he was dragged into battle, Long Yu would have to destroy a few more Devil Dust clones. The fewer Devil Dust clones there were, the more danger Long Yu would be in. But as long as there were Devil Dust clones left, the other foreign race cultivators wouldn't be able to target him so easily. Of course, there was one exception. That was the 6 golden wings. Long Yu had just snatched one of its heads, which made the golden 6-winged creature extremely angry with him. It was not afraid of exposing itself and being attacked by the other alien cultivators. After all, there was only one alien with a metal spire left on its side, which could not threaten its life at all. Therefore, it didn't take long for the golden six-winged creature to rush out of the 9 nether divine characters. In the midst of a bright golden light, 3 pairs of golden wings instantly unfolded. Countless golden feathers scattered in all directions. Long Yu's 2 devil dust clones bore the brunt of the attack. On the other hand, Long Yu's main body was already out of the range of his attack, causing him to breathe a sigh of relief. The 2 devil dust clones, seeing this, immediately urged the devil dust possession to block the attack of the golden feathers. Unfortunately, the penetrative power of these golden feathers was extremely strong. Although the defensive ability of the devil dust doppelganger was excellent, it was completely unable to stop the penetration of these golden feathers. In the next moment, the bodies of the 2 devil dust doppelgangers were already riddled with holes. Fortunately, the devil dust heart of the 2 devil dust clones was a relatively hard existence. It wasn't destroyed in such a way. Then, their bodies quickly began to reform. I'll hold on for as long as I can. In any case, Long Yu knew that he was no match for the golden six-winged creature. But the rewards for killing in this chaotic area were very good. If there was a chance, he would like to kill more foreign race cultivators. It would be best if all of his innate magic powers could be strengthened. Of course, this idea was a little naive. It should be known that even the golden six-winged creature had its head snatched away, let alone Long Yu. Moreover, the reason why Long Yu had snatched away the golden six-winged creature's head was completely because it didn't expect Long Yu to have a method like the 9 nether sphere, which could slow down the flow of time in the surroundings. If it used the same method now, it definitely wouldn't work. The golden six-winged creature had clearly sensed the function of his 9 nether sphere. Primordial Shadow. Mad God descends. Berserker Fist Cannon. Long Yu let the remaining 6 devil dust clones in the surroundings each condense hundreds of primordial shadow. Then, these primordial shadow picked the nearest foreign race cultivators and activated the Berserker Fist Cannon. This scene caused the foreign race cultivators to jump in fright. However, the Berserker Fist Cannon cast by these primordial shadow was really not a threat. They almost didn't need to pay attention to it. Even if they were hit head-on, it wouldn't cause any damage to them. Therefore, these foreign race cultivators ignored the Berserker Fist Cannon of the primordial shadow and continued to fight fiercely with each other. However, they didn't know that these Berserker Fist Cannons didn't have to kill the target. As long as they hit the target, they could superimpose a layer of Berserker Fist Cannon on Long Yu. Just this wave alone allowed the Berserker Fist Cannon on Long Yu and the Devil Dust clone to superimpose 120 layers of Berserker Fist Cannons. Long Yu was too lazy to superimpose Berserker Fist Cannons to fight now because facing these foreign race geniuses in front of him, he didn't have the chance to fight in close combat at all. What he was doing now was completely playing the role of a troublemaker. This was because the originally fierce situation in the field had undergone a subtle change because of Long Yu's Berserker Fist Cannon. There were 4 foreign race cultivators fighting over there. The 4 foreign race cultivators were fighting on their own, maintaining a delicate balance between each other. However, after Long Yu used this move, the Berserker Divine Runes erupted in the field, causing the situation between the 4 foreign race cultivators to change. This was because one of the foreign race cultivators could actually absorb all the Berserker Divine Runes condensed by Long Yu to enhance its own strength. This foreign race cultivator was an existence that looked like a giant, but its face didn't have any facial features, making it look very strange. This foreign race cultivator raised its hands and absorbed all the power of the Berserker Divine Runes into its body, and then spat it out, instantly enveloping another foreign race cultivator that had been holding it back. This caused a series of chain reactions. The unlucky foreign race cultivator that was engulfed by the Berserker Divine Runes was immediately surrounded and attacked by the other 3 foreign race cultivators, because it had clearly shown its weakness. At first, Long Yu wanted to join in and see if he could snatch another kill, but he quickly dispelled this idea. On one hand, the golden 6-winged cultivator rushed towards his main body, and on the other hand, the giant foreign race cultivators split into 7 clones. These 7 clones launched a fierce attack towards Long Yu's main body and the 6 Devil Dust clones. It could be said that Long Yu was being attacked from both sides. The reason why the golden 6-winged cultivator rushed towards his main body was because his main body was the closest to it. However, behind the golden 6-winged cultivator, the 2 Devil Dust clones had already finished reconstructing and directly used the boundless grip on the golden 6-winged cultivator. One of the Devil Dust clones used the hell-shaking divine runes, while the other used the dark demon runes in an attempt to damage the spirit of the golden 6-winged cultivator. This method might not be able to kill the golden 6-winged cultivator, but it could at least slow it down a little. Meanwhile, the other Devil Dust clones prepared to meet the giant foreign race cultivator's clone. A total of 7 small giants, each carrying the boundless power of the Berserker Divine Runes, charged towards Long Yu's Devil Dust clones. Long Yu narrowed his eyes slightly. Although he could not defeat the foreign race cultivators, there was no reason why he could not defeat a small giant's clone, right? Immediately, Long Yu and the 6 Devil Dust clones did the same thing. They used the assimilation field and coordinated with each other. Each Demon Dust clone could enjoy 30% of the assimilation field, instantly weakening the Berserk Divine Rune fists of the small giants that entered their range. Following that, one of the Demon Dust clones directly took out the Dragon Bone Tower. Dragon Bone Break. The ancient Dragon Bone Tower instantly spun at high speed and broke through the 3 small giant clones, causing them to completely disintegrate. Long Yu had purposely placed the ancient Dragon Bone Tower on the Devil Dust clone. At the same time, another Void Nether Dragon Blade flew out from the Devil Dust clone's body and flew towards the other 4 small giant clones. It condensed Water-type Absolute Beginning Power and unleashed Void Burial. Just like that, the 7 small giant clones were all taken care of. At that moment, because 2 unbounded battle weapons appeared on Long Yu's Devil Dust clone, the foreign race cultivators immediately believed that it was Long Yu's main body. The golden 6-winged cultivator took a step forward and charged towards the Devil Dust clone. On the other side, the 4 foreign race cultivators did not have the time to pay attention to Long Yu. That was because the head of the foreign race cultivator that was being surrounded was already flashing with white light. Clearly, he had chosen to retreat. In 10 breaths' time, the 3 foreign race cultivators, including the giant foreign race cultivator, were all trying to kill the surrounded foreign race cultivator. Long Yu did not join in on the fun. He saw that the foreign race cultivator with the metal spire, which he had originally ignored, was also attacking his Devil Dust clone, as if it was trying to take his head. Unfortunately, that Devil Dust clone had been sacrificed by Long Yu. Perhaps it could be called a death substitute clone. This was the first step in Long Yu's plan. The ultimate goal of Long Yu's plan was naturally to kill all the people present. Or rather, to let them kill each other first while he stood at the end. It was a difficult plan to carry out, but now, the first step of the plan had succeeded. Chapter 1552. Long Yu's plan was, of course, to get rid of the foreign races present one by one. His plan was immature, and there were many uncertainties. However, this was the best choice he had at the moment. He used a Devil Dust clone to draw the attention of the foreign race cultivators who were targeting him. Then, the ancient Dragon Bone Tower and the Void Nether Dragon Blade moved around using their own spiritual senses. They continued to act as troublemakers on the battlefield, constantly activating Void Burial in various locations. As for the ancient Dragon Bone Tower, it used the Dragon Bone Destruction method to continuously charge around. Moreover, the 7th and 6th stage rulers that Long Yu had previously refined were all released, and they each found their own opponent. The situation on the battlefield was becoming clearer and clearer. The foreign race cultivator that was surrounded by 3 foreign race cultivators was already completely dead. It did not manage to last for 10 breaths of time. Then, the body of the foreign race cultivator that looked like a giant actually began to glow with a golden light. When the golden light flickered, all the cultivators in the field looked at him with indescribable shock. This was because everyone could feel that the aura of this foreign race cultivator was continuously rising. This was definitely not something that could be explained by the innate mystique alone. It was transforming, and its martial realm was increasing. And now, this foreign race cultivator was already a 7th stage ruler. If it continued to increase, wouldn't it mean that, the demigod realm? In the battlefield, the other foreign races all left with this foreign race cultivator. This was because they all realized that this fellow had actually obtained a chance to increase after killing an opponent. If I kill 3 opponents in a row, I will obtain a chance to increase and step into the demigod realm. Little Void and Long Yu were telepathically connected. What he was thinking at this moment just happened to explain what Long Yu was confused about. He had thought that this was just a coincidence, but from Little Void's words it seemed like he was certain. As long as he killed 3 opponents in a row at this stage, he would be able to ascend from the 7th stage ruler level to the demigod realm. The giant foreign race cultivator let out several manic roars, but the power that erupted from his body did not affect the other cultivators present at all. Instead, it was all contained within a very small area around him. Following that, the guy's body continuously glowed with white light, covering the golden light that appeared when he advanced to the martial arts realm. It was teleported out. The alien cultivators in the field fell into a rare moment of silence. However, it was obvious that this was not the first time they had seen such a scene. It seemed that a certain powerful alien cultivator had advanced into the demigod level and left after killing 3 opponents in a row. This piqued Long Yu's interest. This was because he was only a rank 5 great ruler. Even if he killed 3 of them in a row, it was unlikely that he would be able to jump straight to the demigod realm, right? After all, there were still 2 levels between them, and it was not so easy to advance. Besides, the reason why those alien cultivators could advance into the demigod level was that they were only 1 foot away from the demigod level in the first place. As long as they had the opportunity, they would be able to step into the demigod realm. The eroding moon ancient domain was giving them such an opportunity. As for Long Yu, it was impossible for him to directly step into the demigod realm. This made him curious. What would happen if he could kill 3 of them in a row? Originally, he wanted to muddle through this trial and see if there was any chance for him to get some benefit. If he couldn't, he would just back out. However, it seemed that if he didn't try his best, he would lose a huge opportunity. After all, in this place, apart from the opportunity of advancing to the demigod realm, there was also the strengthening effect of innate technique. As long as he killed one of his opponents, the eroding moon ancient domain would strengthen one of his innate technique. This was an opportunity that he could not obtain in the outside world. No one knew the principle behind this kind of strengthening innate techniques, and what was used to strengthen them. Therefore, such an opportunity could not be missed. Long Yu had no choice but to give it his all. Even though he only had the strength of a 5th stage great sovereign, if he went all out, he could still kill these peak 7th stage great sovereign foreign race cultivators. Of course, he needed a good opportunity. Otherwise, the foreign race cultivators around him would definitely want to kill him first. In the field, 1 had just died, and 1 had retreated after advancing to the demigod realm. There were only 5 left. Long Yu, the golden 6-winged foreign race cultivator, the metallic spire foreign race cultivator, and the 2 foreign race cultivators who were originally competing with the giant foreign race cultivator. However, this chaotic battle clearly wouldn't end just like that. The golden six-winged foreign race cultivator and the metallic spire foreign race cultivator, one above and one below, directly surrounded Long Yu's devil dust clone. Then, a terrifying power poured down, and the golden light exploded, instantly destroying the devil dust clone. Although the devil dust heart persisted for a while and wanted to reconstruct its body, the two foreign race cultivators didn't give it the chance. Instead, they hurriedly used their most powerful methods to explode the devil dust heart. But soon, they discovered that the devil dust clone wasn't Long Yu's real body. This was because the devil dust clone had been completely destroyed, not even a speck of it was left. Moreover, neither of the two foreign race cultivators had been strengthened by their innate magic power. Moreover, the other devil dust clones in the field still existed, which meant that Long Yu's real body hadn't been killed. Now, there were only 5 devil dust clones left, plus Long Yu's real body. If they dealt with Long Yu first, they only had a 1 in 6 chance of killing Long Yu. Moreover, they weren't sure if Long Yu had any life-saving methods. The golden six-winged foreign race cultivators were sure that Long Yu's real body was among these 6 figures, because it was sure that no cultivator could hide under its nose. As for the other foreign race cultivators, it couldn't be sure. Perhaps Long Yu's real body was hidden? Therefore, the current situation was quite good for Long Yu. At the very least, those fellows wouldn't treat him as their number 1 target. The golden six-winged thought for a moment, then flew toward a nearby devil dust clone. In a flash, it appeared in front of the devil dust clone, wanting to kill it. After all, it only took 2 breaths for the golden six-winged to kill a devil dust clone. Therefore, it wanted to kill them one by one. However, at this moment, something strange happened. Because a foreign race cultivator had just ascended, another 3 foreign race cultivators were teleported into this area of the chaotic battle. When they saw the 3 foreign race cultivators, the 5 foreign race cultivators in the field were shocked and cautious. This was because the new foreign race cultivator was also a flower demonic cultivator. There was already a flower demonic cultivator in the chaotic battlefield, and now there was another one. Clearly, they were going to join forces. Just like now, if other humans came to this chaotic battlefield, no matter who it was, Long Yu would definitely join forces with them. Without a doubt, no matter how great the hatred between individuals was, in the face of external enemies, they would have to put it aside for the time being. Even if Long Yu and Qi Beifei were here, Long Yu wouldn't choose to kill Qi Beifei at this time. Instead, he would join forces to deal with the other foreign races first. That was inevitable. Therefore, the strength of the flower demonic cultivator in the field suddenly increased. As expected, the 2 flower demonic cultivators joined forces in an instant. They approached each other and guarded one direction of the chaotic battlefield. They seemed to be communicating with each other. It was obvious that the newcomers were asking about the situation. Long Yu could sense that the new flower demonic cultivator had extremely powerful mental strength. If the 2 of them joined forces, the other foreign races would basically find it hard to resist. Therefore, there was a subtle change in the situation. Including the other 2 foreign races that had just entered and the one with the metal spire, a total of 4 foreign races focused their attention on the 2 flower demonic cultivators. It seemed that they wanted to temporarily join forces and kill the 2 flower demonic cultivators. Only the 6-winged golden creature seemed unmoved. It continued to attack Long Yu's devil dust doppelganger. The golden flowing light exploded and turned into thousands of golden light blades. In an instant, the devil dust doppelganger was completely cut into pieces. Moreover, this time, the 6-winged golden creature already knew that Long Yu's weakness was the devil dust heart near his heart. It did not give him a chance to destroy the devil dust heart. Long Yu still had 4 devil dust doppelgangers left. However, he wasn't worried because he had already thought of a way to leave this place. Since there were 2 flower demonic cultivators on the battlefield, Long Yu could try to use the same trick again. He had used this trick to kill 4 opponents previously. As long as he controlled it well, he might be able to kill the 2 flower demonic cultivators again. To other foreign races, these 2 flower demonic cultivators were definitely extremely troublesome existences with their powerful mental strength. However, to Long Yu, these 2 flower demonic cultivators were simply a blessing from the heavens. He controlled the remaining 4 devil dust doppelgangers and then his own body. He seemed to be panicking as he directly ran in one direction. After all, the 6-winged golden creature was killing his devil dust doppelgangers, so it was normal for him to run like this. The 6-winged golden creature chased after him unhurriedly. The direction in which Long Yu was running happened to be where the other 4 foreign races were gathering to join forces. This made the 4 foreign races' eyes light up. They weren't fools. They had already seen the scene of the 6-winged golden creature destroying Long Yu's devil dust doppelgangers. They all knew where the weak points of Long Yu and the devil dust doppelgangers were. Long Yu just happened to have arranged for the 4 devil dust doppelgangers to be a little closer to the 4 foreign races. It seemed that he wanted to escape from them. After all, there was the 6-winged golden creature chasing after him. It was normal for him to be panicking and not care about where he was going. As for his own body, he was sandwiched between the 4 devil dust doppelgangers and slightly further away from the 4 foreign races. Generally speaking, these 4 alien races would subconsciously choose to attack the nearest devil dust doppelganger. In that case, Long Yu's main body would be able to bypass these fellows and directly reach the vicinity of the 2 demonic flower alien races. However, these foreign races weren't so stupid as to act according to Long Yu's plan. Chapter 1553. The 4 alien races all had their own thoughts. Although 2 of the alien race cultivators had acted according to Long Yu's plan and directly attacked the nearest devil dust clone, there were still 2 alien race cultivators who actually ignored the nearest alien race cultivator and instead attacked Long Yu's main body, which was slightly further away. Clearly, they had guessed that Long Yu wasn't fleeing in a sorry state and didn't care about anything else. Because if that was the case, a white light would definitely light up above Long Yu's head. After they saw through him, Long Yu's main body was in danger. The 2 alien race cultivators' ferocious attacks surged over and almost instantly enveloped his main body. Assimilation field. Long Yu and the 2 nearby devil dust clones used the assimilation field at almost the same time. The 30% assimilation field successfully weakened the attacks by 70 to 80%. Then, the devil dust possession activated and directly resisted the opponent's attack. However, Long Yu's main body also spat out a mouthful of blood. His entire body seemed to stagger as he fell forward from the 2 ferocious attacks. The direction in which he fell happened to be where the 2 alien flower demonic beings were. Originally, the 2 alien flower demonic beings were wondering if Long Yu's hasty actions were a trap. However, from the looks of it now, Long Yu had been blasted over by the other 2 alien flower demonic beings. There was no possibility of a trap. However, because the white light didn't light up above Long Yu's head, it meant that he hadn't given up on retreating. This caused the 2 alien flower demonic beings to not dare to use their full strength against Long Yu. However, a mere 5th-stage ruler shouldn't be much of a threat, right? The alien flower demonic beings seemed to communicate with each other. Then, each of them launched a mental attack at Long Yu. Each of them launched a mental attack towards Long Yu. One could sense that the attack launched by the 2 alien flower demonic beings wasn't the strongest. This was because they didn't intend to rely on this attack to kill Long Yu. This put Long Yu in a difficult position. If the opponent didn't use his strongest technique, he couldn't guarantee that the world-cleansing soul mirror would be able to reflect the opponent to death. However, this was already a good result. He didn't put up any defense. Instead, he seemed to have fainted and was directly hit by the 2 spiritual shock beams. In an instant, his entire soul trembled. At this moment, he even took the initiative to block off the world-pure physique so as to not alert the enemy and use his own body to withstand the opponent's attack. Since he could tell that his opponent's attack wasn't very strong, he didn't take the initiative to defend himself. However, his opponent was still a peak 7th stage Sovereign Realm expert after all. The two spirit attacks directly stunned Long Yu. His soul immediately suffered a severe blow, and he almost fainted. If he really fainted, what awaited him next would definitely be death. Neither the Dragon Bone Tower, which still had its own consciousness, nor the Netherworld Dragon Blade could save him. By this time, his other Devil Dust clones had already been dealt with. After the golden six-winged Devil Dust clone got rid of one, it quickly chased after Long Yu's main body. And the other foreign race cultivators also saw that Long Yu's soul was heavily injured. They all knew that this was Long Yu's main body, because all the other Devil Dust clones had already been destroyed. Only this one was left. If it wasn't Long Yu's main body, then what was it? Especially since even the golden six-winged Devil Dust was chasing after Long Yu. Clearly, after killing this guy, it would be counted as a head. No foreign race cultivator was willing to miss such an opportunity. When the two flower demonic beings saw that Long Yu was seriously injured by their attacks, they were instantly delighted. Then, they saw the other golden six-winged Devil Dust and the others chasing after Long Yu. How could they not know that killing this guy would be very beneficial? Almost without hesitation, they unleashed an even more tyrannical mental attack. Wood elemental primordial power descended from the sky, condensing into rays of soul-corroding light that swept towards Long Yu. On the other side, there was still a psychic shock light beam that tore through the air. However, it was many times stronger than the previous one. This was the situation that Long Yu wanted to see. He had taken the risk and voluntarily injured his soul. Wasn't it to make the other party use their full strength to deal with him? Seeing that the other party had used their full strength, Long Yu immediately knew that the crucial moment had arrived. World-cleansing soul mirror. Long Yu used this technique again. A light blue mirror appeared around his body, immediately blocking the rays of soul-corroding light and the thick psychic shock light beam. Then, he reflected them back 10 times. The rays of soul-corroding light and the psychic shock light beam were 10 times stronger. They landed on the two flower demonic beings respectively. This caused the two flower demonic beings to be dumbfounded. They had just used a weaker technique to test him. This kid shouldn't have been able to resist at all. That weak technique had injured his soul and almost caused him to faint. Now, the techniques that they used were clearly stronger. However, he had actually blocked them and reflected them back? Even though the two flower demonic beings weren't completely defenseless, they used all kinds of technique. They directly activated their spiritual defensive barriers and other things in an attempt to block Long Yu's reflected attack. However, Long Yu's reflected attack was 10 times stronger than their own. Only they knew their own strength the best. In the next moment, the soul-corroding light completely corroded the soul of one of the flower demonic beings. Even the spiritual defensive barrier couldn't withstand it for long. The flower demonic being seemed to wither in an instant. On the other side, the psychic shock light beam directly penetrated the soul of the other flower demonic being, shattering it completely. There was no way for it to recover. In just an instant, the situation on the battlefield had completely changed. Although the other foreign race cultivators, including the golden six-winged giant, had a bad feeling about this, they didn't expect Long Yu to use such a technique to directly kill the two flower demonic beings. This situation was completely out of their expectations. Although they thought that Long Yu might be putting on an act, with his strength as a 5th-stage great ruler, what could he possibly do? They didn't expect the kid to still have such a trick up his sleeve. They all stopped in their tracks. With regards to the current Long Yu, who had just killed 2 demonic flower race beings, these foreign race cultivators really didn't dare to step forward. The souls of those two demonic flower race beings had already been completely shattered. The white light shrouded the souls of the flower demonic beings. The eroding moon ancient region had taken the two flower demonic beings away. No one knew where they were. However, they definitely couldn't return to the territory of the flower demonic beings. The two corpses were taken back by the eroding moon ancient region. As for Long Yu, he finally felt the reward for killing his opponent. The feeling of his innate mystique being strengthened assaulted him once again. However, before he could feel anything, a burst of golden light completely enveloped him. If it were other cultivators who had been at the peak of the 7th stage Great Ruler for a long time, they would most likely have advanced to the demigod level because of this golden light. However, Long Yu's cultivation was only at the 5th stage Great Ruler level. It was impossible for him to directly advance to the demigod level. Long Yu was just thinking about what he would obtain if he killed 3 opponents in a row. The answer would be revealed very soon. The golden light enveloped Long Yu's entire body. Then, he discovered that there was no change in his martial realm at all. Instead, his physical body actually started to disintegrate and fuse with the golden light. Then, along with the golden light, he was transported to some unknown space. Even the devil dust heart was completely disintegrated. Immediately after, Long Yu's consciousness completely dissipated. During this transportation process, he couldn't even think. Where was he going to be transported to? This was what Long Yu thought at the last moment before he lost consciousness. After Long Yu left, the battle in the chaotic area was far from over. Every time, as long as 3 foreign race cultivators died, retreated, or left after killing 3, another 3 foreign race cultivators would enter the chaotic area and continue the battle. There would always be 8 to 10 foreign race cultivators in the chaotic area. In such a chaotic battle, it would be extremely difficult to protect oneself while killing 3 foreign race opponents at the same time. It was only because Long Yu had coincidentally encountered 2 demonic flower demons that he was able to succeed in his scheme. Otherwise, it would be almost impossible for Long Yu to kill 3 opponents. After all, his martial realm was too low, and his basic strength was too weak. After Long Yu left, another human arrived in the chaotic area. This human was none other than Long Zai Tian. Because of Long Yu, the foreign race cultivators in the battlefield, especially the golden 6-winged beast, launched a frenzied attack the moment they saw Long Zai Tian. The other foreign race cultivators also did the same, leaving Long Zai Tian dumbfounded. Did I offend these foreign race cultivators? Why are they attacking me as soon as I entered? Long Zai Tian couldn't figure it out no matter how hard he thought about it. However, he wouldn't admit defeat just like that. After all, he was also a peak 7th stage Sovereign Realm cultivator. Moreover, he had many trump cards. At the very least, he couldn't just retreat like that. Long Yu was still in the process of being transported. Outside the eroding moon ancient region, there were people waiting for Long Yu to appear. Naturally, they were Red Oriole and Moon Song. There was also Consort Yu, who hadn't appeared yet. Red Oriole and Moon Song had gained a lot from their trip to the eroding moon ancient region. The 2 of them had chosen to withdraw from the advancement zone, but they had each killed an opponent in the advancement zone, gained points, and opened quite a few chests. It could be said that after the 2 women returned, they only needed to rest and cultivate for a while to directly step into the 7th stage Sovereign Realm. It was only a matter of time. But now, Long Yu and Consort Yu hadn't appeared, which made the 2 women more and more worried. Chapter 1554. However, not long after Long Yu was teleported away by the golden light. Outside the Eclipse Moon ancient region, in the area where humans and demons were preparing, a golden light finally appeared. When the golden light appeared, the demigod Gaudi's eyes lit up. Someone became a demigod. There were only a dozen or so who hadn't appeared from the Eclipse Moon ancient region, so they all had their own guesses as to who would become a demigod next. After verification, the golden light at the end of the 5th level of the eclipse moon ancient region meant that someone had become a demigod. After becoming a demigod, they naturally couldn't continue fighting in the eclipse moon ancient region. They would be teleported out. Many people were waiting in the preparation area. Now that they saw someone become a demigod, they couldn't help but be filled with anticipation. If this demigod could return alive, the combined strength of the humans and demons would increase a lot. However, after the end of the eclipse moon ancient region, there would be a death match. In this match, it was very easy for a new demigod to die. Every time the eclipse moon ancient region ended, there would be a fierce battle between the new demigods of different races. This was also why there were many people who became demigods in the eclipse moon ancient region. Even in the past, humans and demons would often become demigods in the eclipse moon ancient region, but the number of demigods between humans and demons was always the same. Of course, the death match for the new demigods would only happen after the eclipse moon ancient region closed. There was still a long period of time for them to prepare. Now, Gaudy, Moon Song, Red Oriole, and the other 200 or so people wanted to see who had become a demigod. After the golden light flashed, a beautiful girl with endless cold air appeared in front of everyone, Frost. Frost from the Demigod College was bathed in golden light. She had actually become a demigod. When she appeared in front of everyone, many people had looks of envy. There were a total of 400 people from the humans and demons participating in the eclipse moon ancient region this time, but less than 50 could reach the advancement area. Less than 10 could go to the 5th area. As for Frost, she was one of the best. For her to be able to step into the demigod level was within the expectations of some people. After all, she was already at the peak of the 7th phase Dominator realm and was very close to the demigod level. On top of that, Frost's 7 great innate abilities had all been infused with ice essence. She herself was a powerful existence that could enter and leave the Ice God clan's territory. In this kind of chaotic battle between different races, Frost being able to become the final winner was a very normal thing. However, did becoming a demigod mean that he would be the final winner of the eclipse moon ancient territory? This was far from certain. When Frost appeared, bathed in the golden light, she opened her eyes. Seeing the excited gazes of the people around her, her lips curved into a smile. I succeeded. Frost could feel the surging god characters in her body, as well as the terrifying power of a demigod. Her eyes shone with confidence. After she became a demigod, she clearly understood that there would be a life and death match for the new demigods soon. In that match, either you don't participate, you win, or you die. Logically speaking, not participating in that match would be the best. That way, you would be able to keep your life. However, the rewards for the death match were just too great. It was so great that no demigod could refuse it. Of course, the rewards for the Eclipse Moon Ancient Territories death match were different every time. No one knew what it would be this time. Not long after Frost appeared from the golden light, another golden light flashed in the area where the humans and demons were preparing. Everyone was excited. When they looked again, they saw that the person who had appeared was Consort Yu. Sister Yu, you succeeded as well. When Red Oriole and Moon Song saw Consort Yu appear, they instantly became happy. The stone in their hearts was lifted. However, the two women, especially Red Oriole, were very worried about one person. That person was Long Yu. Long Yu was only at the 5th phase Dominator realm. Could he really make it that far? Apparently, the 5th area of the Eclipse Moon Ancient Region was about to come to an end. Seeing that more and more demigods had appeared, it was obvious that they had killed 3 opponents before coming out. If they could kill 3 opponents, then naturally someone would be killed. Long Yu still hadn't come out. Could he have been killed in the 5th area? The demigod concubine Yu Fei took a moment to get used to her current strength. Then, she looked at Frost and smiled. They had known each other before, but concubine Yu Fei had left the Demigod Academy first. Concubine Yu Fei's talent was even stronger than Frost's, so Frost wasn't surprised to see her become a demigod. As if feeling Red Oriole and Moonsong's worry, Consort Yu flew over and comforted them. "Don't worry, that brat Long Yu won't die that easily. Even I became a demigod, so his results won't be any worse than mine. I just don't know what kind of reward he'll get if he kills 3 opponents in the chaotic area with only the cultivation of a 5th phase dominator." Hearing Consort Yu's words, many of the surrounding people didn't agree. How could that brat Long Yu compare to a genius like Consort Yu? As for who Long Yu was, basically everyone who came to the Eclipse Moon Ancient region knew. When he entered the Eclipse Moon Ancient region, he was only at the 3rd phase dominator realm. If he hadn't come out after so long, then he must have died in there. Of course, they couldn't say this in front of the demigod Consort Yu. That would only offend her and be meaningless. No matter what, they just had to keep watching. Those who were supposed to come out had already come out, and those who didn't would never come out after a while. Among the people present, not only were there people who were concerned about Long Yu, but there were also people who were concerned about the others who hadn't come out. Up until now, apart from those who were confirmed dead, there were still many people who had the potential to become demigods who hadn't come out. For example, Qi Beifei and Long Zitian. These two were the commanders of the human army on the battlefield, and they also possessed some kind of strange power. If they were to say that they could become demigods, everyone would believe it. However, neither of them had appeared yet. Moreover, no one knew that Qi Beifei was already dead, and that he had died at the hands of Long Yu. None of the people present would know about this. What happened in the Eclipse Moon Ancient region would never be known to outsiders. Apart from those who came out alive and knew what had happened to them, no one could know what had happened to the others. Even for those who didn't come out in the end, no one would know how they died. Within the territories of the human race and the demon race, following the appearance of Frost and Concubine Yu, the 2 new demigods, the atmosphere became quite lively. Everyone was discussing what they had seen and heard in the eroding Moon Ancient region. However, people couldn't really interact with Frost and Consort Yu. Moon Song and Red Oriole only talked with Consort Yu for a while before Consort Yu left, because there was something very important to do next. The power of a demigod was usually difficult for a new demigod to grasp, and in the battle to the death, the more they understood the power of a demigod, the higher their chances of survival would be. Therefore, Gaudi wanted Frost and Consort Yu to give them special guidance so that they could quickly familiarize themselves with the power of a demigod. In this kind of situation, there was obviously no time left for them to chat with others. After the 3 demigods left the crowd, Red Oriole and Moonsong were still worried. Red Oriole cared about Long Yu's safety the most, and Moonsong, who had been with Long Yu for so long, was also very worried about him. She didn't know how he was doing. However, no matter how worried they couldn't change Long Yu's situation. No one knew that right now, Long Yu had been transported by that golden light to an unknown place. This place was filled with golden light, as if it was a space filled with a mysterious power. In the space, golden clouds rolled up and down, moving up and down. Long Yu's entire body seemed to be wrapped up in the golden clouds. His body, after the teleportation, had completely reformed. Even the demon Dust Heart had been reassembled. Right now, he was a bit confused. He didn't know what the Eclipse Moon Ancient region wanted him to do. It had to be known that the other people who had killed 3 opponents had all become demigods, so they should have been transported out of the Eclipse Moon Ancient region. However, he had come to this strange place where golden clouds were rolling. Long Yu didn't just stand there and wait. He continued to advance through the golden clouds and mist, and also sensed the power of the golden clouds and mist. He wanted to see if the golden clouds and mist were some kind of divine rune's power that he could absorb. Very soon, he discovered that the golden clouds were indeed a kind of power. However, it was an extremely powerful power. It wasn't something that he could absorb and comprehend at the moment, so he could only give up. I can even absorb and comprehend the power of eternal divine characters. Just where did these golden clouds come from? Being alone, Long Yu naturally couldn't figure it out. However, there seemed to be a voice in his mind that was guiding him forward towards the golden sea of clouds. At this moment, he felt that there was something wrong with his Ball of 9 Underworlds ability. After coming to this space, his Ball of 9 Underworlds ability seemed to have been sealed and couldn't be used. It wasn't that this space had specifically sealed his Ball of 9 Underworlds ability. Instead, the time in this space seemed to be in a very strange state that suppressed his Ball of 9 Underworlds ability. One must know that the current Ball of 9 Underworlds ability had the effect of slowing down the flow of time. Because of this space was actually secretly suppressing the Ball of 9 Underworlds. What kind of strange space was this? What was the purpose of the Eclipse Moon Ancient Region teleporting him here? Long Yu couldn't figure it out no matter how he thought about it. He could only keep moving forward. Very soon, he finally saw something other than the golden sea of clouds. Chapter 1555. What appeared in front of Long Yu was a huge stone stele. There were countless foreign race cultivators surrounding the stone stele. It was unknown whether they were cultivating or something else. In short, not a single one of them moved. It looked as if they were at a standstill. Without exception, none of these foreign race cultivators were demigods, and none of them were at the peak of the 7th stage sovereign realm. All of them were either 6th or 5th stage sovereigns. Long Yu couldn't even count how many of them there were. This was because the golden clouds around these foreign race cultivators were constantly churning, obscuring their figures. In fact, most of the foreign race cultivators were people that Long Yu had never seen before. There was even a blue tree, which made Long Yu even more confused. What kind of place was this? As he approached the huge stone stele, he felt that the flow of time around him was actually slowing down. Moreover, the speed at which time was slowing down was much more severe than when he used the 9 Underworld sphere. In fact, the closer he got to the stone stele, the slower the flow of time became. There were so many foreign race cultivators, who were about the same as him at the 5th or 6th stage sovereign realm, surrounding the stone stele without moving. Long Yu felt as if he had been pulled into a pit, but now, he had no choice but to go forward. He braced himself and continued to fly forward. As the golden clouds churned, the flow of time became slower and slower. Then, when he was about 50 kilometers away from the stone stele, the flow of time seemed to have completely stopped. Long Yu felt as though he had passed through some sort of barrier. Suddenly, he felt as though he had arrived in another world. In this world, the stone tablet was still standing in front of him, and the golden clouds were still surging and churning. However, the foreign race cultivators who had been standing still around the stone tablet had all disappeared. No, not all of them had disappeared. Instead, like Long Yu, they seemed to have just arrived in this space. One by one, they flashed out from 50 kilometers away from the stone stele and seemed to be looking around curiously. Every foreign race cultivator seemed to have just arrived in this space. It was the same for Long Yu. Previously, he had seen these guys standing still near the stone tablet, but now they looked like they had just arrived at this space. Was this time warped? Long Yu couldn't understand it at all. The flow of time had always been an extremely mysterious thing. Whether it was Long Yu or the other foreign race cultivators around him, none of them could understand it. Among the crowd, Long Yu even saw a few members of the demon clan and a few humans. He was certain that these geniuses from the demon race and human race were not from the same batch that entered the eroding moon ancient domain with him. He had never seen them before. However, he seemed to have seen one of the humans before. After thinking for a while, he was shocked. Didn't this guy look a little like him? Not only did she resemble him, but she also vaguely resembled Yiziwei. He could be sure that that fellow was definitely not Long Zai-Tian. It was impossible for Long Zai-Tian to look like Yiziwei. However, amidst the churning golden clouds, that human quickly disappeared before Long Yu's eyes. He kept trying to find traces of that fellow, but he couldn't find him. The shock in Long Yu's heart couldn't be any greater. Just like Yiziwei, the young human genius had an absolute beginning lightning seal on his forehead. He looked a little like Yiziwei, but he seemed to look more like Long Yu. This situation simply made Long Yu dumbfounded. Who exactly was he? No matter how he thought about it, he couldn't figure out what was going on. Moreover, he had already lost track of the other party. He wanted to fly towards the place where the other party had appeared, but he found that he couldn't move freely in the sea of golden clouds. This was because once he moved, he would step into a time fault. He couldn't predict what would happen next. It seemed that as long as he moved a little closer, he would arrive at a time that didn't belong to him. Every small area around this stone tablet actually represented a different point in time. Of course, Long Yu didn't know what the exact situation was. This was just a feeling he had. Therefore, he didn't dare to move recklessly. Not long after he arrived near this stone tablet, he discovered that the stone tablet actually emitted a brilliant golden light that shone on every cultivator around it. Even Long Yu was the same. It seemed as though something was continuously entering Long Yu's body. However, that thing wasn't harmful to him. Instead, in Long Yu's perception, it was an extremely powerful force. Being able to obtain this kind of power was a great opportunity for him. It seemed that this was the situation. Very quickly, a thought sounded in his mind. Opportunity of creation, ascend to the God position. This wasn't just 8 words, but a thought. It seemed as though the thought of the stone tablet was telling him this. In other words, he had obtained an opportunity of creation. What he was experiencing right now was ascending to the God position. Long Yu didn't know what the God position was, but he guessed that it was related to real gods. However, he soon discovered that after the golden light entered the bodies of the foreign race cultivators around him, they seemed to be unable to withstand the power of the golden light and began to explode. These foreign race cultivators were probably super geniuses like Long Yu, who had stepped into the depths of the eroding moon ancient region with the cultivation of a 6th or even a 5th stage sovereign. However, even they couldn't withstand such power, and their bodies exploded one after another. Long Yu carefully remembered the appearance of the 2 demons who died when their bodies exploded. There was also a human who died when his body exploded. It was a pity that he didn't see the young man who looked like him again. Very quickly, Long Yu lost too much of his ability to think after the golden light entered his body. This was because the power was simply too strong. If this power could be absorbed and used, it would definitely be an extremely terrifying existence. However, it wasn't an easy task to absorb and control this power. The golden light rapidly shot towards Long Yu. Although its original intention was for Long Yu to absorb and comprehend it, the power of the golden light was simply too strong. Was this the power of gods? Long Yu didn't know, but he knew that when he was about to reach his limit, the 9 underworld prison tablet within his body suddenly had a slight movement. At this time, Long Yu discovered that the 9 hell tablet in his body was somewhat similar to the golden stone tablet in this space. At least in terms of aura, they were both similar to gods. When Long Yu couldn't withstand it anymore, the power of the 9 hell tablet appeared and actually absorbed the power of the golden light that Long Yu couldn't withstand. Was the 9 hell tablet saving him? Long Yu didn't know. However, he didn't know where the power of the golden light that was absorbed by the 9 hell tablet went to. Long Yu couldn't sense its existence at all, and he didn't know where the 9 hell tablet stored it. 2 hours, 4 hours. The infusion of the golden light lasted for a total of 4 hours. Among the tens of thousands of cultivation geniuses, No more than 100 of them survived in the end. Long Yu didn't know if the people who survived had a divine item like the 9 Hell Tablet like him, or if their endurance was so strong. If it was the latter, then these fellows were simply too abnormal. It should be known that Long Yu could only endure for 1 hour before he couldn't hold on any longer. The 9 Hell Tablet absorbed the power of the golden light for the next 1.5 hours. As these 4 hours passed, the golden mist in the field finally faded a lot. Long Yu also saw all the people who survived. He saw the young man who looked like him and Yi Ziwei again. However, the young man was a little far away from him. It was obvious that the young man had noticed him and smiled at him from afar. He even made a funny face at him. Long Yu found it even more difficult to understand the current situation. Who exactly was this kid? He seems to know me, but then again, why does he look like me so much? Long Yu remembered all the cultivators of the foreign clans who survived. Among them, there was one from the Six-Winged clan, one from the Machine clan, and one from the Sword clan. Each of the 3 major clans in Langiastar Zone had a cultivation genius who survived, but he didn't know which era they belonged to. Maybe they were from the past, maybe they were from the future. Thinking of this, Long Yu frowned slightly. He looked at the young man who looked like him in the distance and couldn't help but think, could this guy be from the future? Unfortunately, he couldn't communicate with the young man at all. Otherwise, he could go over and ask him. He didn't have time to think for too long. When there were only about 100 people who survived, the golden stone tablet in the center finally released a dazzling golden light again. This time, no energy was injected into them. The golden light enveloped nearly 100 people and sucked them all into the golden stone tablet. A golden light flashed in front of Long Yu's eyes. Then, he changed his position. He seemed to have moved to the center of the golden stone tablet. He was surrounded by the dazzling golden light, and the others seemed to have disappeared. Long Yu didn't feel the existence of anyone else. Then, the golden light in the surroundings seemed to condense into a golden mark, which gradually engraved on Long Yu's forehead. A thought told him that this golden mark was the so-called God position. It was the key to entering the God spirit realm. In other words, the 100 people who survived the golden light this time would all have such a golden God position? Chance, fortune, and ascension to the God position. What Long Yu could confirm was that these geniuses came from different time periods. It seemed that this golden stone tablet could only give out deity thrones once. Hence, these geniuses from different time periods were all gathered together to give out deity thrones at once. Chapter 1556. Long Yu wasn't too sure what the godly seat was. It sounded a bit like the qualification to become a god. Obtaining the godly seat didn't mean that he would definitely become a god. No matter what, Long Yu seemed to have obtained an incredible power. This power was something that no one in the human race or Yao currently possessed. That golden power was still stored in Long Yu's dantian, filling it to the brim. There was even more golden power stored in the 9 Hell Steel. He didn't know how the others had managed to endure it. Long Yu shook his head and didn't think too much about it. The golden mark looked like a ball of flame that was directly imprinted on his forehead. During this process, he simply had no way of resisting. He could only watch helplessly as a flame mark appeared on his forehead. But very quickly, the mark of fire gradually faded away, as if it was usually hidden. This put Long Yu at ease. If the mark of fire remained on his forehead, the situation wouldn't be too good. That would be too high profile. After that, Long Yu didn't experience anything else. It seemed that after he killed 3 people in a row, he was teleported to the space where the stone steel was. He experienced a strange infusion of power, met some strange people, and survived. Then, he was engraved with the mark of fire, the so-called godly seat. Then, his body flashed with golden light, and he was teleported out. When he opened his eyes, the first people he saw were Red Oriole and Moon Song. Their faces were full of worry, But when they saw Long Yu appear, their worries immediately turned to joy, and they completely relaxed. In the preparation area of the humans and Yao, 5 new demigods had already appeared. They were Frost, Consort Yu, Long Zitian, Imperial Wind, and a middle-aged frost wolf Yao cultivator from the Yao race. His name was Lang Qingshuang. The 5 new demigods were all called over by Gaudi to familiarize themselves with the power of demigod. At this time, Long Yu still hadn't shown up. Many people even thought that Long Yu definitely wouldn't be able to come out. After all, he was only a rank 3 ruler when he entered the eroding moon ancient region. It was already good enough that he could make it to the advancement area. The chances of him coming out alive were too slim. No one knew that Long Yu had stepped into the 5th area. No one knew that he had killed 3 opponents in a row. Therefore, no matter who it was, even if it was Red Oriole and Moon Song, they all felt that Long Yu was doomed. This made their hearts tighten, and they couldn't relax no matter what. Although a total of 5 demigods had appeared in the human race and the demon race, which was worth celebrating, the 2 girls couldn't bring themselves to be happy. Because the most important person to them, Long Yu, hadn't come out of the eroding moon ancient region. Even if the others hadn't become demigods, they had all obtained many things from the eroding moon ancient region. Of the 400 geniuses of the human race and Yao race, around 230 had survived. Shi Wanqing and Jian Renhao, the 2 elders from the Jiu clan, were very envious of Consort Yu's ascension to demigod. However, these 2 fellows still only dared to wander around the starting area and didn't dare to advance any further. This time, they even suffered heavy injuries and barely managed to escape alive. As for the benefits, they didn't gain anything at all. It seemed inevitable that Concubine Yu would become a demigod. But the 2 elders were still very happy that Long Yu hadn't come out. Because Consort Yu had left the Jiu clan because of Long Yu. She didn't even want the position of Saintess, which made the Jiu clan very upset for a while. Fortunately, they found a new Saintess to replace her, but the reputation of the new Saintess was far inferior to that of Consort Yu. As a result, many of the higher-ups of the Jiu clan had always resented the name Long Yu. Now that the 2 elders saw that the kid had entered the eroding moon ancient region and couldn't come out, they were naturally very happy. They couldn't wait to go back and tell the other higher-ups of the Jiu clan this good news. But things didn't go as they wished. When Long Yu appeared in front of them bathed in golden light, Shi Wanqing and Jian Renhao looked as if they had seen a ghost. They couldn't believe it. The kid didn't die. And he even appeared bathed in golden light. This meant that the kid hadn't left voluntarily. Instead, he had entered the 5th area like the 5 demigods and killed 3 alien geniuses in the final stage. This news was simply depressing. Didn't this mean that the kid also had the possibility of becoming a demigod? But fortunately, when the golden light dissipated, the person who appeared in front of them was Long Yu, who was at the level of a 5th stage ruler. There wasn't much change in his martial realm. Although he had risen by 2 stages compared to when he first entered, he was still a long way from becoming a demigod. This made Shi Wanqing and Jian Renhao heave a huge sigh of relief. Fortunately, this was the case. Otherwise, if Long Yu became a demigod, they would be so angry that they would die. After all, this was the 3rd time they had come to the eroding moon ancient region, and they still hadn't obtained anything good. On the other hand, Long Yu had only been a 3rd stage ruler when he first came. But he had already achieved such an achievement, however, Shi Wanqing and Jian Renhao thought of a problem. A 7th stage ruler cultivator killed 3 people in the 5th area, and he came out as a demigod. Then what about Long Yu? Would he obtain some other benefits? Long Yu naturally didn't care about what Shi Wanqing and the others were thinking. As soon as he came out, he saw Red Oriole and Moon Song's worried expressions, which made his heart ache. Red Oriole threw herself at him the moment she saw him and hugged him. "You scared me to death. I thought you really wouldn't come out. Why were you so slow?" 5 demigods have already come out? Under such circumstances, the girl would always throw herself into the man's arms. Only Red Oriole would take the initiative to pull Long Yu into her arms. This made Long Yu feel a bit awkward. He originally wanted to hug this girl, but now that his hands were being hugged by her, he couldn't move at all. One had to know that Red Oriole had already reached the level of a 6th stage ruler. In terms of basic strength, she was more than 3 times stronger than Long Yu. Long Yu couldn't be bothered to break free. Just like that, he enjoyed the waves of intoxicating fragrance coming from Red Oriole's body. His heart also relaxed a little. He had finally escaped from the intense competition in the eroding moon ancient region. Very soon, he learned the current situation from Red Oriole, as well as the upcoming deathmatch segment. Every time a deathmatch segment appeared in the eroding moon ancient region, the winner would receive an extremely high reward. It could even change the overall strength of a race and affect the territorial division of the various races in the realm of stars. And those who could participate in the deathmatch segment were the newly ascended demigods of each race. The rules of the deathmatch segment in the eroding moon ancient region were different every time, but one thing was for sure. For every newly ascended demigod, the deathmatch segment was extremely dangerous. After all, as long as they participated, there were only 2 outcomes: victory or death. After hearing this news, Long Yu told Red Oriole and Moon Song to relax for a while. He, on the other hand, was going to find the demigod Flamboyance. He remembered clearly what happened in the disordered space and time near the Golden Tablet, where a few human beings and demons exploded because they couldn't withstand the infusion of the golden power. Long Yu wanted to understand the situation of the human clan and the demon clan participating in the eroding moon ancient domain in the past. From there, he would be able to obtain some information. Perhaps, he would be able to deduce more information about the eroding moon ancient domain. But what he didn't expect was that before Long Yu found demigod Gaudi, she had already found Long Yu. Also, she brought the 5 newly ascended demigods to pick up Long Yu. Gaudi looked at Long Yu with shock in her eyes. Obviously, she didn't expect that Long Yu could kill 3 opponents in a row in the 5th zone and come out bathed in golden light. Although Long Yu hadn't stepped into the demigod level, he still had to participate in the deathmatch segment. Gaudi explained to Long Yu, "You have to participate in the deathmatch segment as well. I don't know why, but I've received a telepathic message from the eroding moon ancient region. What did you run into in the eroding moon ancient region?" Such a situation seemed to have never happened before on the side of humans and demons. That was why demigod Gaudi was so surprised. Long Yu explained in a deep voice what he had seen at the location of the golden stone tablet. He also described the geniuses of the human clan and the demon clan who had exploded and died. However, he did not mention the young man who looked like him and Yeeziwei. "You're saying that you saw them explode and die?" Gaudi was shocked when she heard this. From Long Yu's description, she could tell that the human race and demon race geniuses who had exploded and died were all geniuses who had entered the eroding moon ancient region in the past. Moreover, they were similar to Long Yu. They were terrifying geniuses who had the strength to challenge 7th or 6th stage sovereigns when they were only at the 5th or 6th stage sovereign realm. But she didn't expect that these geniuses would explode and die in the eroding moon ancient region. Could it be that the space where the golden steel is located is the 6th level of the eroding moon ancient region? Long Yu frowned when he thought of a possibility. It should be. In the past, no one who entered the 6th level has ever come out alive. I didn't expect you to come out alive this time, and you even saw how the others died, Gaudi sighed with emotion. Although it's strange that you can see things from hundreds of years ago, it should be because of the time distortion. The methods of gods aren't something people like us can understand. Only now did Long Yu know that the few geniuses from the human clan and demon clan that he had seen exploding to death had all entered the eroding moon ancient domain 120 years ago. There were records of these famous geniuses in the history of humans and demons. The earliest one entered the 6th level more than 1,000 years ago, and never came out again. At that time, even demigod Gaudi hadn't been born yet. Who would have thought that long you would be able to see those geniuses with his own eyes? Unfortunately, they all exploded and died in the eroding moon ancient region. No wonder they didn't come out. Otherwise, they should be able to leave the eroding moon ancient region in golden light like Long Yu. Chapter 1557. Long Yu didn't expect that the 3 people he killed in a row were all experts of the demigod realm. However, after killing the 3 of them, he entered a space-time disorder, saw the golden stone tablet, and absorbed the violent golden energy. What surprised him even more was what he learned from demigod Gaudi. The young geniuses of the demon race and human race that he saw exploding and dying with his own eyes were actually geniuses who entered the eroding moon ancient region hundreds or thousands of years ago. Every single one of these geniuses was as stunning as Long Yu. At the very least, they surpassed many of the so-called geniuses of the human race and demon race. Those young geniuses couldn't withstand the golden energy and exploded and died. It was truly a pity. It could be known that if a cultivator at the peak of the 7th stage sovereign level passed through the 5th region, they would become an existence of the demigod realm regardless of race. If a cultivator at the 5th stage sovereign or 6th stage sovereign level passed through the 5th region, they would enter the space-time disorder to receive the golden energy. Cultivators who successfully withstood the golden energy would be able to reach the core area of the eroding moon ancient region and ascend to godhood, and receive a flame imprint. This was probably the method the entire eroding moon ancient region used to select the so-called inheritors of the gods. In the eyes of the gods, perhaps only those who were able to successfully pass through the 5th region when they were at the 5th phase dominator or 6th phase dominator could be called a genius. Only then would they have the qualifications to receive the flame imprint and ascend to the position of God. If Long Yu's guess was correct, from ancient times until now, and even for a long period of time in the future, there were only 100 or so cultivators who had the qualifications to accept the flame imprint and ascend to the God throne. Among them was the young man who looked a lot like Long Yu. At the same time, the young man also looked a little like Yi Ziwei. Long Yu really didn't know who the young man was. He thought of a possibility. Could it be that the young man was his and Yi Ziwei's son, who entered the core area of the eroding moon ancient region from the future? However, the possibility of this was too small, because he really didn't think that he would have such a deep connection with Yi Ziwei. After learning from the demigod Gaudi that those who exploded and died were the geniuses of humans and demons from thousands of years ago, Long Yu felt rather gloomy. He did not say anything but listened to the demigod Gaudi's arrangement, ready to take part in the deathmatch that was about to take place. Every time the eroding moon ancient domain came to an end, there would be such a duel. Every species and every cultivator would be tempted to join the battle with rewards that were irresistible. If they won, it would be a huge revolution for the entire race. However, it was a pity that, in the previous rounds of battles in the eroding moon ancient domain, there were too few new demigods of the human race and the demon race, and it was too difficult for them to win. As a result, many new demigods were killed in the battles. Because of that, the number of demigods in the human race and the demon race hadn't changed much in the past 100 years. But it was different this time. This time, there were a total of 5 new demigods in the human race and the demon race, and there was also Long Yu, the god's heir, who appeared bathed in golden light. Among all the humans and demons who accepted the legacy, Long Yu only saw himself and the young man who looked like him. The others were all from other alien races, which made Long Yu realize that he should be one of the only 2 people who had ascended to the throne of God among the human race and the demon race. Not only in the past and the present, but also in the future, there would only be one young man who looked like him and received the flame mark like he did. Right now, Long Yu was still unable to use that golden energy. Therefore, it was practically impossible for him to fight against a demigod realm existence. One had to know that his current martial Dao realm was only at the level of a 5th stage great ruler. However, once he could use the golden power and activate the flame mark, it seemed that he could become very strong. That was something that Long Yu didn't know. He still needed time to try. There was still half a month before the death match officially began. The others had to leave this place one after another during this time, because when the death match began, everyone would be sucked into the vortex of energy in the eroding moon ancient domain. Apart from the new demigods who had been selected to participate in the death match, no one could survive from such a vortex of energy. Even a powerful demigod like Flamboyant had to choose to leave before that happened. For Long Yu, he was a bit nervous, because he didn't know if he could master the golden power and the flame mark in half a month. If he couldn't, he would be in a very passive position. And it just so happened that Long Yu learned from Flamboyant that the eroding moon ancient domain stipulated that he was the only one who had to participate in the death match among the humans and demons. The others could choose to leave, but only Long Yu had to stay. This made Long Yu even more puzzled. He didn't know why there was such a rule in the eroding moon ancient domain, but it was too difficult for him to follow the 5 new demigods to fight the new demigods of other alien races in half a month. Long Yu could only do his best, because it was impossible for him to escape. Since he had been chosen by the eroding moon ancient domain, he couldn't leave this place at all. You must be careful. After learning of this, Moon Song and Red Oriole began to worry once more. However, it was useless for them to worry. They had to leave this place, and even if they stayed, they wouldn't be of much help to Long Yu. Instead, they would only distract Long Yu. After all, he needed as much time as possible to comprehend the golden power and master the flame mark. This process was definitely not easy, and he could only do his best. Moon Song and Red Oriole knew that they couldn't disturb Long Yu at this time, so they quickly followed the others and left the Langya Galaxy near the eroding moon ancient domain, returning to the demigod academies near the human territory. Most of the people who entered the eroding moon ancient domain and survived had obtained relatively satisfactory rewards. At the very least, their personal strength had increased a lot. Be it the essence of the divine runes or the items of creation, they were as common as cabbages in the eroding moon ancient domain, allowing everyone to obtain something. Only cowards like Shi Wanqing and Jianrenhao would hide near the entrance of the starting area and not obtain anything at all. Red Oriole and Moon Song were naturally the same. They decided that after they returned, they would cultivate and comprehend without rest. At the very least, they would be able to raise their martial Dao realms to the 7th phase Great Ruler level. After reaching this level, the only thing left to do was to consolidate and dig out all of their potential. At the very least, in terms of basic strength, they wouldn't be too far behind other experts. Only when they reached the level of a 7th stage Great Ruler could they be considered to have truly stepped into the upper echelons of the human race and the demon race. At that time, almost no one below the demigod realm would be able to kill them. Even the golden 6-winged ones wouldn't be able to kill them so easily. At the very least, they had the means to escape. Just like in the chaotic battle in the 5th area of the eroding moon ancient domain, it wasn't that easy for the golden 6-winged ones to kill an opponent. In the end, Long Yu managed to snatch away their heads. In the end, they didn't manage to kill a single one, and Long Yu had already killed 3. All cultivators at the peak of the 7th stage Great Ruler level had the same basic strength, and most of them had their own unique abilities. Whether or not one could defeat one's opponent depended entirely on the mutual restraint of strength, as well as the right time, place, and people. In a different place, the outcome might be completely different. After Red Oriole, Moon Song, and the others left, in the Langya Galaxy near the eroding moon ancient domain, the only ones left were the 5 newly ascended demigods, Long Yu and the demigod Gaudi. The demigod Gaudi stayed behind to teach them how to better grasp the power of a demigod. As for Long Yu, he could only explore the golden power in his body by himself. In the entire area of the human race and the demon race, only these 7 people were left. The others had all returned. At this time, a burst of intense golden light finally burst out from the center of the eroding moon ancient domain. This burst of golden light attracted the attention of all the newly ascended demigods in the surrounding 3 galaxies. The burst of golden light was like the scorching sun at noon, shining into the surrounding 3 galaxies. Such brilliance was incomparable to that of any star, and the limitless aura and power contained within it intoxicated everyone. From the burst of golden light, a total of 100 items appeared in everyone's mind. Because it was too far away, no one could see it with their naked eyes. However, the appearance of the 100 items appeared in everyone's mind in an eerie manner. Supreme quality creations. Among the 100 items, at least 50 were supreme quality creations. These were things that could never be obtained in the outside world, because supreme quality creations could only be produced by gods in the legends. It was said that a single supreme quality creations could create a demigod. These were the rewards for the deathmat, and the supreme quality creations were the worst of them all. Long Yu even saw a source of primordial power similar to the primordial golden pool. Having a source of primordial power meant that the overall strength of a race would be greatly improved. Even for Long Yu, it was extremely attractive. The primordial golden pool already existed in the Void Galaxy, but he still needed more things to strengthen the overall strength of the forces in the Void Galaxy. After all, he had seen so many powerful alien races. He knew that it would be difficult for him to protect the Void Galaxy on his own, even if he became a demigod. Therefore, the key was to make the entire Void Galaxy stronger. Then, a source of primordial power like the primordial golden pool would be very important. Chapter 1558. From the demigod's explanation, everyone knew that the key to breaking through to the demigod level from the 7th phase dominator level was to feel the power of time. In the last phase of the 5th area of the eroding moon ancient region, after killing 3 opponents in a row, the 7th phase dominator level cultivators would be able to bathe in the golden light. The golden light was the guidance left for them by the eroding moon ancient region, and it contained the comprehension of the power of time. It was because of this that they could break through the shackles that had been shackling them for a long time and directly step into the demigod level. In the past, they had already researched many things and knew that the key to breaking through to the demigod level was the power of time. But in any case, without external help, it was too difficult for them to feel the power of time. If they wanted to rely on themselves to feel the power of time, they needed to be extremely talented. Even someone like Long Yu might not be able to do it. After learning about this, Long Yu was a little surprised. Not only could he feel the power of time, but he could even use the ball of 9 hells to slow down the flow of time around him. This situation seemed to have exceeded the understanding of others, and the ball of 9 hells came from the 9 hells prison tablet. Could it be said that as long Yu stepped into the 7th phase dominator level, there wouldn't be any shackles or bottlenecks between him and the demigod level? Long Yu didn't know the specifics. However, a demigod-level expert's small world could reach a radius of 100 billion miles. Just the expansion of the small world would require a lot of hard work for ordinary cultivators. Regardless, the problem that Long Yu was facing right now wasn't breaking through to the demigod level, because he was only a 5th phase dominator. The key problem that he needed to solve now was how to activate the flame imprint that he had obtained, which was the so-called deity seat. Also, how should he mobilize the golden energy in his body? Due to the lack of time, Long Yu thought of an idea under such circumstances. He directly went to a void far away from the others and summoned the Ball of Nine Hells. He let the Ball of Nine Hells slow down the flow of time around him. This way, the time around him would be twice as slow as the outside world. If 15 days passed in the outside world, it would be equivalent to 30 days of cultivation for Long Yu. That seemed to be the case. Long Yu hadn't thought of this before. He secretly scolded himself for being an idiot. How could he not have thought of such rare resources and such a powerful cultivation method? However, it wasn't easy to make the Sphere of Nine Nether affect Long Yu. This was because the effect of the Sphere of Nine Nether wasn't originally effective on Long Yu. Long Yu fiddled with it for a while before he finally managed to get himself into the zone where the flow of time slowed down. In this way, he only had 1 month left to cultivate and comprehend. Golden energy, ascending to godhood, this should be the strongest power in this world. At the very least, it was one of the strongest powers. As Long Yu could grasp even one of them, he would have a chance of surviving the next round of death battles. If he could master a little more, he would be able to achieve better results in the deathmatch segment. And if Long Yu could not comprehend and grasp even a little bit of it, then he would most likely die in the deathmatch segment. That was because with his current strength, he would not be able to fight those new demigods at all. Moreover, from the demigod Gaudi, Long Yu learned a piece of information. It was that once one became a demigod, the small world would become a world of its own. The power in the small world would be endless, and the demigod experts wouldn't have to worry about the problem of exhaustion at all. In other words, any method, any martial arts technique, any technique could be performed without limit. Moreover, after becoming a demigod, one of the cultivator's congenital techniques would have a chance to be deified. Long Yu didn't know what the deification of congenital techniques was until he came out from the demigod Gaudi. It was the enhancement of the congenital techniques after he killed an opponent in the 5th zone. That process was called the deification of congenital techniques, and the congenital techniques that had been deified were called deified techniques. There were 7 congenital techniques in total. The demigod level was also divided into 7 levels. Just like the Grand Dominator level, the demigod levels ranged from the 1st level to the 7th level. The difference from the Grand Dominator level was that the demigods in different levels had similar basic strength. The difference between the demigods in different levels was the number of deified technique. The number of deified techniques one had was equivalent to the number of demigod. If he hadn't gotten the chance to deify a congenital technique in the Eclipse Moon Ancient region, it would have been extremely difficult to deify a congenital technique in the outside world. All the new demigods in the Eclipse Moon Ancient region were at least the 3rd level. Because all the new demigods had leveled up by killing 3 opponents, they all had 3 deified technique. Now that he had settled down and started to train, Long Yu finally started to consider the problem in that regard. I killed 3 opponents, and 3 of my techniques were deified. The first was the Dragon Breath of 9 Serenities, the second was the Hand of 9 Serenities, and the last one was the Soul Seal Siphon. I wonder how the deified techniques have changed. Long Yu pondered for a moment, then condensed a devil dust clone of himself. Then, he directly attacked this devil dust clone. First, he used the Hand of 9 Serenities. Originally, the Hand of 9 Serenities was a congenital technique fused with the essence of shadow, and it had the effect of forcibly restraining the opponent for 3 breaths. Now that the congenital technique had become a deified technique, it was only natural that it had become stronger. Most importantly, when the Hand of 9 Serenities appeared, it was accompanied by the figure of a giant. This giant figure was the master of the Hand of 9 Serenities. However, Long Yu couldn't clearly see what this giant figure looked like. It was just a shadow that appeared in the void and connected to the Hand of 9 Serenities. The change that this brought to the innate divine ability, the Hand of the 9 Underworlds, was that once Long Yu summoned the Hand of the Nine Underworlds, the Hand of the Nine Underworlds would continue to imprison the opponent. Under the control of the giant, as long as the opponent did not completely shatter the Hand of the Nine Underworlds, they would always be imprisoned. This was an extremely powerful technique. It was much more powerful than before, which could only restrain the opponent for 3 breaths. Not only that, Long Yu also felt that the creepy white bone hand under the control of the giant figure was the real forcible confinement. If the Hand of Nine Serenities was used to deal with demigods, it probably wouldn't have any effect. But it was different now. The giant figure seemed to have the aura of a god that surpassed demigods. Although it was only a shadow, it was enough to make the Hand of Nine Serenities a terrifying technique that could restrain demigods. This deified technique became the first technique that Long Yu could rely on in the deathmatch. Then, Long Yu tested the Dragon Breath of Nine Serenities. The deified technique, the Dragon Breath of Nine Serenities, was not only 10 times more powerful than before, but it also changed the awkwardness of the previous technique. It must be noted that the Dragon Breath of Nine Serenities had a time limit. Although the time limit was very short, it could be easily avoided by the opponent. But now, it could be said that the Dragon Breath of Nine Serenities didn't need any time. It directly broke through the air and fell on the opponent. Although it didn't have a technique like the Shadow Essence to strengthen the treasure, the destructive power of the Dragon Breath of Nine Serenities was equivalent to Long Yu's Mad Fighting Dragon Fist with 100 layers of Mad Fighting Heavenly Power. Also, it didn't need to fight at close range, so it was safer and had a certain degree of corrosion. Things that couldn't be destroyed in one go would be completely destroyed by the corrosive power. For Long Yu, high-quality endless-level techniques didn't seem to be enough. Both the Mad Fighting Heavenly Body and the Boundless Grasp seemed to be a bit weak in the Eroding Moon Ancient region. Now that Long Yu had obtained the deified technique, he didn't need to use these 2 techniques at all. The Boundless Grasp was fine. It could be used as a means of control and attack. It could harass the opponent and directly attack the opponent's body. But the Mad Fighting Heavenly Body was basically useless now. For Long Yu, if he still used the Mad Fighting Heavenly Body in the deathmatch, he wouldn't even know how he died. Apart from the deified technique, he had to keep the 8 extremities bloodline open all the time. Otherwise, he might not even be able to take one move from the new demigods of the alien races. Gathering spiritual light, the small golden sword had now replaced the 2 high-quality endless-level technique. It had become the combat method that Long Yu could rely on the most. If the Dragon Breath of Nine Serenities was fused with the Shadow Essence, its destructive power would be even more shocking. Unfortunately, he couldn't get the Shadow Essence to strengthen this deified technique. There was another deified technique that he hadn't used for a long time: Soul Siphon. When this innate skill reached the level of Monarch Dao skill, it would be able to create a siphon totem that could absorb all attacks from the surroundings. Furthermore, these siphon totem could be stored in Long Yu's little world, and at the crucial moment, these siphon totem could be destroyed to recover Long Yu's own strength. However, the siphon totem was still somewhat useful in the Emperor's Path secret realm. In the Sovereign's secret realm, whether it was the upper limit of the power that the siphon totem could absorb or the power that could be restored by destroying the totem, for Long Yu's situation, it was just a drop in the bucket. Because of this, he hadn't used it much. But now, the innate technique had evolved into a deified technique. This meant that the Soul Siphon technique was once again on the list of things that Long Yu could use. He gave it a try. This move could also condense the siphon totem, but behind the condensed siphon totem, there was also the shadow of a giant. This giant shadow was holding the siphon totem, and it could actually absorb a huge amount of attack power. It was even more tyrannical than the assimilation field. Chapter 1559. This situation caused Long Yu to feel a little surprised. The Hand of Nine Serenities, a divinized technique, had the shadow of a giant waving behind it, which could control the Hand of Nine Serenities and make it much more powerful. The Soul Seal Siphon also had the shadow of a giant holding the siphon totem so that it could withstand more attack. The Dragon Breath of Nine Serenities, which Long Yu did not pay much attention to just now, actually had the shadow of a dragon. However, because the Dragon Breath of Nine Serenities was spurted out from Long Yu's mouth, he did not notice that the shadow of a dragon was condensed behind Long Yu at first. It was also after he noticed that the shadow of a giant had appeared in the Hand of Nine Serenities and the Soul Seal Siphon that Long Yu observed carefully and realized that there was indeed a shadow of a dragon behind him when he performed the Dragon Breath of Nine Serenities. What are those shadows exactly? Long Yu did not know that, but the appearance of those shadows made his three techniques extremely powerful. The Hand of Nine Serenities that had been melted with the essence of shadow, in particular, would become a strategic method for Long Yu in the upcoming battles. Long Yu spent the next 3 days familiarizing himself with the divinized technique. Although they were much stronger than before, it was still impossible for them to compete with the demigods. On the other side, the demigod Flamboyant was teaching the 5 new demigods to familiarize themselves with the power of the demigod. Long Yu thought that when the death match was about to begin, he could spar with each of them and see how strong he was. But right now, he was still too far away from it. He had to familiarize himself with the golden power and the mark of fire first. The 2 powers seemed to be from the same source, but Long Yu could not use any of them right now. Although the golden power was stored in Long Yu's abdomen, he could not use it at all. It seemed to be dormant inside his body. He could feel the formidability of the golden power, but if he could not use it, everything would be meaningless. Fortunately, he still had nearly a month to familiarize himself with this power and try to comprehend it. With the help of the Netherworld Ball, his time was twice as long as the others, which was about 15 days. That was his advantage when he was alone. He was of a mind to ask the 5 new demigods of the human race and the demon race to come with him, but he gave up the idea after thinking for a moment. The effect of the Ball of 9 underworlds slowing down the flow of time was truly too shocking. If it were to be revealed, it would be extremely disadvantageous to Long Yu. Although the golden 6-winged aliens and some other aliens in the 5th region already knew about Long Yu's ability, they were aliens after all. They could not affect Long Yu much. After all, Long Yu had not fully matured yet. If someone from the human clan or the demon clan received this information and tried to harm him, Long Yu would still encounter great trouble. A month's time was neither long nor short. If it were any other kind of power, Long Yu would be able to find some clues after spending a month. However, he soon realized that a month's time, which was 15 days in the outside world, had passed, and he had not comprehended anything about the golden power or the flame god's position mark. That was a little sad. The next segment was the death match for the new demigod. If Long Yu could not comprehend the golden power and activate the flame god's position mark, how could he fight against the new demigods of the alien race? He was practically courting death. The closer it was to the start of the death match, the more anxious Long Yu became. However, it was useless for him to be anxious. The Netherworld Dragonblade and the Dragonbone Ancient Tower were also very anxious, but they could not help much. Even in the deathmatch segment, it was difficult for them to be of much use. After all, the 2 of them had not been able to do much when they were facing those 7th-phase peak sovereigns in the 5th region. In any case, the deathmatch segment was something he had to participate in. Before participating, Long Yu definitely had to familiarize himself with his demigod opponent. He found Consort Yu. Among the 5 new demigods, although Frost and Imperial Wind were also from the Demigod Academy, Long Yu did not want to trouble them. There was also Long Zitian and the other Yao cultivator. He could not go find them. Consort Yu naturally would not refuse Long Yu's request to spar. The two of them were far away from the others and arrived in a space of nothingness. Consort Yu raised her hand and set up a barrier around them so that no one could see her spar with Long Yu. It was not because they were guarding against the newly advanced demigods of the human race and the demon race, but because they did not want to be seen by other alien races. After all, nobody knew if other alien races had special methods that allowed them to see what was going on in the preparation area of other races. You did not comprehend that power? Consort Yu heard about Long Yu's situation and immediately frowned. She definitely felt that it was a bit strange. Logically speaking, Long Yu's comprehension ability was definitely not bad. That golden power was also actively instilled into Long Yu's body. Logically speaking, he should be able to comprehend something in this period of time, right? Even a little bit would be fine. But the current situation was that Long Yu could not comprehend anything at all. This was a bit embarrassing. Yes, there is no other way. There is only one day left before the deathmatch segment begins. I have to familiarize myself with the power of a demigod before it begins. Long Yu nodded in a low voice. Now that things had come to this, there was no other way. He had to spar with Consort Yu and see how big the gap was between the power of a demigod and his. Otherwise, it was very likely that he would be instantly killed by the first opponent he met in the deathmatch segment. Then you be careful. Consort Yu said solemnly. After stepping into the demigod realm, I feel that my basic strength has increased by at least 10 times. Moreover, there is a qualitative change. As for the specifics, you can feel it now. She raised her hand and the black and white immortal and devil chi finally appeared on her body. Cold sweat started to appear on Long Yu's body because he could clearly feel that the black and white immortal and devil chi's power was at least 10 times stronger than before. To a 5th stage great sovereign like him, it carried an unimaginable pressure. The white immortal and black devil chi separately swept towards Long Yu from both sides. Consort Yu had also mastered a divine soul martial technique. However, she did not use it now. She knew that if she used the divine soul martial technique right from the start, Long Yu would be directly killed by her. Therefore, she did not use any martial technique or divine ability. She completely activated the power in her body and used her absolute momentum to suppress Long Yu. The immortal and devil chi attacked. Long Yu felt a great pressure. Even though Consort Yu did not use any martial technique or divine ability, for Long Yu, it was already difficult to resist this power. Soul Seal Siphon. Long Yu raised his hand, and a giant shadow suddenly appeared in front of him. Then, a siphon totem appeared in his hand. When the siphon totem appeared, it directly started to absorb the opponent's immortal and devil chi. However, it could be seen that most of the immortal and devil chi could not be absorbed by it. Even though the giant shadow kept trying, the immortal and devil chi continued to press towards Long Yu. In the next moment, Long Yu activated the assimilation field. Under the effect of the assimilation field, the attacking immortal and devil chi finally began to weaken. However, it was not weakened by much. It seemed that after becoming a demigod, Consort Yu's power was not only much stronger, but also many times stronger in terms of toughness. In other words, many martial techniques and divine abilities that could absorb power and defend and resist were not very effective against Consort Yu's power. In that case, what about the Hand of Nine Nether? Without any hesitation, Long Yu directly activated the Hand of Nine Nether. Another giant shadow directly appeared behind Consort Yu. Then, the giant shadow's arm turned into a ghastly white bone. The Hand of Nine Nether directly grabbed towards Consort Yu. If the opponent wasn't a demigod, the Hand of Nine Underworlds would be able to completely imprison even a peak 7th stage sovereign. But now, facing a new demigod like Consort Yu, surrounded by the immortal and devil chi, Consort Yu's figure actually broke free from the Hand of Nine Nether with just a little bit of force. Then, she raised her hand and attacked with the immortal and devil chi, completely destroying the Hand of Nine Nether. And the giant shadow behind the Hand of Nine Nether also disappeared at once. The gap was really too big. Even Long Yu's most powerful attack couldn't do anything to a demigod. This was not because the difference in the basic power between the two sides was too big, but because the nature of their power was different. Now that Consort Yu had become a demigod, whether it was her aura or her power, there was a suppressive effect on cultivators below the demigod level. For example, now, no matter what method Long Yu used, it had little effect on Consort Yu. This was not because the difference in basic power was too big. In fact, Long Yu felt that even if he activated the 8 extreme bloodline and increased his basic power by 8 times, he would not be able to pose any threat to Consort Yu at all, because the other party's power level was different. Realm suppression. There was a reason why a demigod could become a demigod. Under the suppression of a demigod's realm, Long Yu had no chance of winning at all. Under such a situation, Long Yu began to doubt himself. Was it really because he could not comprehend the fire deity seal and the golden power that he could not do anything to Consort Yu? Otherwise, since the eroding moon ancient region allowed him to participate in the deathmatch, they would not arrange such a battle with no suspense. He should not participate, because the gap was too big. Not to mention that he was a level 5 Great Dominator. Even if he became a level 7 Great Dominator, he could only be a small cannon fodder in such a battle. He was not even cannon fodder. He could not pose any threat to a demigod-level expert at all. As you can see, Consort Yu's expression was solemn. After becoming a demigod, all of my power has been qualitatively changed. Although the flamboyant demigod did not say it, I personally believe that the stability of these powers has been strengthened, and they are not so easily defeated, absorbed, and so on. Chapter 1560. After Consort Yu's explanation, Long Yu finally understood the specific difference between them. It was like comparing a kilogram of cotton to a kilogram of steel. Although both of them weighed a kilogram of cotton could easily be blown away by the wind, while a kilogram of steel would be much more difficult to defeat. This was also the difference between Long Yu and Consort Yu. In other words, it was the difference between Long Yu and other demigod-level experts. Long Yu's strength was like a kilogram of cotton, and the basic strength of these new demigods was like a kilogram of steel. Because of this, when Long Yu faced Consort Yu, he would have all kinds of feelings of powerlessness. No matter how well he played his strength, which was equivalent to a kilogram of cotton, it was impossible for him to defeat steel. This was the strength of the demigod level. Although Long Yu's 3 abilities had all become divinized abilities, they were still only made up of cotton. In front of steel, they were completely vulnerable. Even if he had advanced to the peak of the 7th phase Great Ruler, his own strength would only increase from a kilogram of cotton to 10 kilograms of cotton. It would not change the situation at all. After realizing this, Long Yu was very embarrassed. Because how could he participate in the death match of the demigod level? No matter what kind of opponent he encountered, he would not be able to survive. Consort Yu did not say anything about this. She thought for a moment and said, "The key is still that golden power. Although we also bathed in the golden light and broke through to the demigod level, we did not absorb the golden light. It only gave us a feeling about time, which allowed us to step into the demigod level. You, on the other hand, have absorbed the golden energy. Logically speaking, if you can grasp the golden energy, it's possible for you to fight against new demigods like us. However, it seems to be quite difficult. It was not only not easy, it was extremely difficult. Long Yu had been busy for a month, and still could not understand this power. He even had a feeling that even if he was given another year, he might not be able to comprehend this golden power. Perhaps he should have started with the fire deity position imprint first, but he had tried to summon the fire deity position imprint, but it never appeared on him again. What are the rules of the deathmatch? At this moment Long Yu asked. He had been in seclusion, so he did not know the specific rules of the deathmatch. Concubine Yu explained the situation to him. All the new demigods of a race would move together from the periphery of the eclipse moon ancient domain to the center of the domain. One of the 100 rewards would appear every certain distance. On the way, there would be conflicts and fights between different races. There were only 2 ways to leave the deathmatch area. The first way was to get one of the 100 rewards, and the second way was to kill a new demigod of an alien race. The 2 ways could only allow one practitioner to leave the deathmatch area at a time. It meant that if the 6 new demigods of the human race and the demon race participated in the deathmatch, they would have to get at least 6 rewards or kill 6 new demigods of alien races in order to be able to leave unscathed. Of course, whether they obtained a reward item or killed a new demigod of an alien race, the cultivator could choose not to retreat and continue moving forward. In such a case, as long as there were no other aliens within 300 square meters, the cultivator could retreat from the battlefield at any time. The 5 new demigods on the human races and the demon races sides had all agreed that they would advance and retreat together until all 6 of them were qualified to do so. Otherwise, the odds of survival for the newly advanced demigods in the remaining rounds of the life and death battles would have been slim. 5 new demigods had finally appeared in the eroding moon ancient region, which was a great opportunity for the human race and the demon race to rise together. It was very likely that after the battle in the deathmatch area, the territory of the human race and the demon race would be able to expand to the periphery. Such an opportunity hadn't been seen for 1,000 years. In the past, when 2 or 3 new demigods participated in the deathmatch, they were almost all wiped out. However, they had to participate. Although the new demigods could choose not to participate in the deathmatch, if none of the new demigods of a race participated, the race would be disqualified from the next eroding moon ancient region. Unless the race didn't have any new demigods this time, in which case, they could participate in the eroding moon ancient region as usual. Long Yu's combat ability had been determined by Consort Yu to be basically 0. That was not good news for the human race and the demon race. Even so, they had to protect Long Yu. It would be best if all 6 of them could safely return from the deathmatch after they got the rewards or killed their opponent. Although Long Yu's combat ability was not very good, there was no doubt that he was part of the human race and the demon race now that he participated in the deathmatch. More importantly, Long Yu was very likely to be the real hope for the rise of the human race and the demon race. After all, Long Yu was the only one who entered the 6th zone of the eroding moon ancient region, survived, and even absorbed the golden energy. For so many years, the higher-ups of the human clan and the demon clan had been studying the situation that the human clan and the demon clan were considered to be together. Initially, they believed that, in addition to the fact that the territories of the 2 clans were connected and the complex interaction of personnel, more importantly, the human clan and the demon clan had many similarities. For example, all the demons could take the shape of human beings, and their bodies were made of flesh and blood, just like human beings. Also, all demons had hearts inside their bodies, unless they were demonic cultivators that were transformed from plants. But even the demonic cultivators of plants had a lot in common with human beings. Other alien races were different. For example, the ice gods were made of ice. The earth gods were made of rocks. The machinery race was made of metal, and so on. At the very least, the human race and the demon race were both living beings with flesh and blood. Therefore, the eroding moon ancient region simply treated the 2 races as the same race. Not only were the preparation areas connected together, but even the deathmatch segment could be arranged together. But it was not the time for Long Yu to think about that. He was wondering if he really had to count on the other 5 newly advanced demigods in order to survive the life and death battle. It seemed that there was no other way, but he really didn't want to be so useless. In particular, among the 5 new demigods, there was a man named Long Zitian, who didn't want to admit that he was his father. Of course, for Long Zitian's refusal to admit that he was his father wasn't a bad thing, but it made Beiyuyao sad. Now that Beiyuyao had stayed in the Void Galaxy, he didn't know how her cultivation was going. Long Yu shook his head and didn't think too much. Although there was only a little time left, Long Yu still continued his cultivation and tried to summon the mark of the divine power of fire. Once the mark of the divine power of fire appeared, it would probably help Long Yu perceive the golden power. But obviously, it wasn't so easy to summon the mark of the divine power of fire. At least, it was impossible for Long Yu to do it in one day. The deathmatch was about to begin. The demigod Gaudi also left in the end. Apart from the participants of the deathmatch, everyone else, including demigods, had to leave the 3 galaxies. Otherwise, they would be killed if they were sucked into the eroding moon ancient region. Everyone, keep it up. The future of humans and demons is in your hands. The demigod Gaudi left such a message before he left. She still had high hopes for Long Yu. Although Long Yu looked very weak at the moment, the demigod Gaudi had a feeling that Long Yu would play a big role in the deathmatch. She didn't know where this feeling came from, but since she had this feeling, it couldn't be wrong. The eroding moon ancient region had specifically called for Long Yu to participate. They couldn't just let him be a bystander, could they? Perhaps, to Long Yu, this was the most crucial opportunity of good fortune. In the preparation area for humans and demons, only the 6 of them were left. 5 of them were the new demigods, the hope of this deathmatch, and there was also the temporarily useless Long Yu. Even though Long Yu had already tried very hard to summon the Flame Divine Seat imprint, and had also tried for a month to comprehend that golden power, it was to no avail. There was nothing he could do about it. On the last day, the deathmatch was about to begin. The 6 of them gathered together. Frost and Imperial Wind of the Demigod Academy, the 2 leaders of the factions, still didn't like each other and stood the furthest away from each other. Consort Yu and Long Yu stood together. Long Zitian was alone. Qing Shuang, the new demigod cultivator, was also alone. The 5 demigods had gotten to know each other in the past half a month, and they had some understanding of each other's fighting styles. However, it was still hard to say how well they could cooperate. The 5 new demigods didn't try to spar with each other. But the good news was that they had more people this time, and they weren't particularly afraid of small groups of new demigods of alien races. After all, among the more than 100 races, only half of them had new demigods. Among the dozens of races, there weren't many races that had more than 3 new demigods. Therefore, in terms of numbers, the human clan and the demon clan had an absolute advantage. Unless they were up against the 6-winged clan, the machinery clan, or the sword clan, which were the strongest clans in the entire star region, there wouldn't be any problems. Relax, everyone. There's no need to be so nervous. Seeing that the atmosphere was a little awkward, Long Zitian coughed and said, "We can be considered acquaintances now. If we can go back alive, we'll all be the leaders of the humans and demons in the future. So, have more confidence in yourselves. After all, we all know that after becoming a demigod, we're much stronger than before." You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.